We are live at the Olympic Stadium for the Women's Marathon as we start our track and field coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad. 72 starters in the Women's Marathon, gathering from 41 countries. As you can see, not a large crowd is gathered here in the Olympic Stadium as we start the marathon.
Right in the middle with the white top. She's just running comfortably right in there. And Lisa Martin right on the inside of the track. So we have the three favorites in this race, really, right out front from the beginning.
Rosa Mota of Portugal, Lisa Martin of Australia, and Greta Weitz of Norway. As you can see, as we look here at the top eight in Katrina Duhr of East Germany, Carla Borskin of Holland, Zhao Yofeng of China, Zoya Ivanova of the Soviet Union, Raisa Smaknova of the Soviet Union, and of course also in the pack the young lady, number 544, Tatiana Polovinskaya, 23 years of age, from the Soviet Union, and the one that Frank thinks of the Eastern Bloc runners may be the one to become the surprise of the Olympic Games. It is now Lisa Martin of Australia out in front. You mentioned the fact, or I mentioned the fact, this is only the second women's marathon in Olympic history. But this means that from an Eastern Bloc country standpoint, they have known about a marathon for, 6 to possibly 7 years. So they should be coming to the forefront in the middle and long distances because that has been their history.
And I think it was allowed in the Olympic Games because the Eastern Europeans felt they'd had enough time maybe to get ready. Los Angeles, they didn't go there. Now they've had 6 years to get ready. So if they're going to do well, they should do well here. Someone went down.
Nancy Dietz in the cap, and she escaped it from the United States, but runners tripping, you saw a little tripping and pushing and bumping. One of the reasons that the leaders wanted, the favorites want to get out in front is simply in the stadium, particularly before things kind of spread out, to avoid that kind of a confrontation with runners with not the experience that they have.
And it really is a question of inexperience, Charlie. You're back there and you're not running in lanes. A lot of these women in this marathon have not run on the track before, I would think.
All right, we'll go back and see if we can pick up who fell. All right, that is Nancy Dietz, United States, in the cap.
It looks like there was a runner, maybe an Australian uniform, just tripping up a little bit, but we can't see anyone go down yet.
Number 37 is Angelica Almeida of Brazil.
Right there.
And then a second runner also goes down.
They're lucky that it happened on the track. The track is soft, and if you fall right and you watch as you're going down, you can actually roll on your shoulder and get back up. So I think these runners are lucky that it happened right here. They're not running that fast because it's the beginning of the race. And if they're not really hurt, they can get up, and it may not have any impact at all on the race.
Lisa Martin of Australia has opened 15 to 20 meters, an early lead. A particular reason for this, perhaps the reason, as you look back, it does look a bit congested.
I think everyone is being very cautious, and Lisa is feeling herself what her tempo should be. She wants to run a certain effort for this race, and her nervousness combined with the effort that she wants to run is just carrying her out in front. We'll know after a mile, after the mile split, just how she's going, but I would imagine she's probably going about 5 minutes and 30 seconds a mile, and Rosa Mota in second place with Greta Weitz right on her shoulder in third place are content to run just a little back and relax because they know that Lisa is not too far ahead. I mean, she hasn't broken away by any means, and everyone here is just getting comfortable. They're going out now. They're going to head out of the stadium. Lisa Martin looks like she's actually starting to jog to let them catch up.
And so as they head for the tunnel, the first 5 as expected. Lisa Martin of Australia, Rosa Mota of Portugal, Greta Weitz of Norway, Katrina Duhr of East Germany, and Carla Borskins of Holland. So you could rank those 5 as the favorites, and we will be tracking them as they now head for the streets of Seoul. The marathon is underway.
Charlie Jones and Frank Shorter, thank you. The women's marathon is underway. It's the headline act for our 4.5 hours of live coverage from Seoul. And good evening. I'm Bryant Gumbel. I'm on the porch of our pagoda here at the Seoul Sports Complex, where today's competition besides the finish of the women's marathon. Many of the biggest names in track and field will be in action today. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Carl Lewis, Edwin Moses, Ben Johnson, Mary Decker-Slaney. They'll all attempt to take their first steps towards the game. Track and field after they will also see women athletes. The competition could be spectacular. And we'll see volleyball. The women will also stand up. On ahead is Day 7. CBC's coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad. bright and sunny Friday morning in Seoul. Temperatures high 6 up high, but weathermen here don't think we'll see a drop of rain. And we've seen very little of it since these games began. Now, before we get back to the women's marathon, a couple of news items to pass along to you and report. Starting with the boxing match that made headlines around the globe. The decision in the match between Bulgaria's Alexander Ristov and Korea's Byung-jung Il resulted in a near riot in the boxing ring at the Chamcho Students' Gymnasium. After it was announced that Ristov had won a 4-1 decision, Korean coaches and officials poured into the ring and assaulted the referee. And when orders was restored, Byung refused to leave the ring, sitting there for a full 67 minutes. The fallout's being felt today. The International Boxing Federation announced last night that 5 Korean boxing officials, including a coach and a trainer, had been suspended for the duration of these games. Byung, the fighter, has been suspended indefinitely, and the head of the Korean Boxing Federation has announced he'll resign from his duties following the games. Also, just in case you did not catch it on our late-night show, you should know that the Soviets swept the field in the men's gymnastics individual all-around competition. Vladimir Artemov won the gold, Valery Lyukhin the silver, and Dmitry Bilozerchev the bronze. Artemov, who you see here scoring a perfect 10 on the high bar, was somewhat of an upset winner over Bilozerchev, the 2-time world all-around champion who finished third despite scoring 10s in 6 of his last 12 routines. And at the Olympic indoor swimming pool, Janet Evans won her 2nd gold medal of these games. She did it in the 400-meter freestyle and broke her own world record in the process. We'll be catching up with more of that story a little bit later on in our broadcast. But right now, let's catch up on the progress of the women's marathon. Once again, Charlie Jones and Frank Shorter.
4, 3.
Thank you, Bryant. In the 84 games in Los Angeles, Joan Benoit, now Joan Samuelson, won the gold, and she did it the hard way, running from the front. But due to a back injury, she is not with us in Seoul. Greta Weitz of Norway won the silver. She is here. Joan celebrated with her victory lap. Rosa Mota of Portugal won the bronze, and she is here. Joan made Olympic history by winning the first Olympic women's marathon. This is the second. And Frank, we can divide this marathon into 3 categories. First, the known.
The known, Charlie, is Rosa Mota. She's the prohibitive favorite here. She won the World Championships last year. She's running better than anyone else in the field, and she never seems to run a bad race.
The unknown.
The unknown are the Eastern European women. We don't know how well they can do because they've only had 6 years really to get into marathoning. But a young Soviet, Tatiana Polovinskaya, has been improving the most of any of the Soviet runners over the past 2 years.
The Americans.
The Americans will do well here, but I don't think we should expect a medal. Although Kathy O'Brien is young, she may just not know where she is. She may run fast, and of all the Olympic running events, the marathon is the most unpredictable.
Let's take a look at the course.
The Olympic marathon course is a traditional one in that it starts and finishes inside the Olympic Stadium and does a grand tour of the host city. After 2.5 laps inside the stadium, the athletes come out. At the mile point, they make a right-hand turn and head out towards the highest point in this course at 3 miles. But this high point is only 70 feet higher than the start. They then go back down by the Han River, run on the flats, past the 11-mile points, onto Oedo Island, and then to the halfway point on the Mapo Bridge in the center of the Han River. They run 4 miles along the north side of the river, come back, cross over at about the 18-mile point, and then continue on the south side of the river to the stadium, a little past 22 miles. They go by the stadium, they can see where they're going to finish. They make a little out and back loop of 3 miles, run 3/4 of a lap on the track, and finish.
And so we have a mini break and a mini pack led by Lisa Martin of Australia. The pack, after they came out of the stadium, then caught up to her. And she, though, continues to lead, and we perhaps have something working here, Frank.
I think Lisa Martin is very nervous in this race. She has a history of being very, very excitable. Little things bother her, little things leading up to the race. She's actually consulted a sports psychologist to try to help her with this. I think she's showing that nervousness here because if you're not attempting a breakaway in the marathon, you should not be leading. I think she's going a little too fast. Rosa Mota is being very smart. My question is, where is Greta Weitz? She is back in the second pack in the lead. She should be with those 4 if she's really trying to win.
The front 4, Lisa Martin, Rosa Mota, Raisa Smaknova, the Soviet Union, Katrin Dur of East Germany, and then as you can see, leading the second pack, which is about 7, maybe 10 meters back, is Greta Weitz. Now let's go back to the Lisa Martin story. She's changed her whole routine getting ready for this marathon, something that you do not advocate. You like to stay with the familiar.
She has the fastest time in the world this year, but she ran it in January and then went back to Australia. She'd been living in the United States. She's more of a resident of the United States than she is Australian, but she went back to Canberra. She consulted a sports psychologist. She changed her routine, and I don't think in the Olympic year you want to change your routine in between marathons.
Now we go back in the pack to pick up the Americans, and there standing by is George Hirsch. He's at the 10K mark, and we'll be picking up reports from him as we move through our coverage of the women's marathon. Nancy Dietz of the United States. Nancy Dietz is 563. Kathy O'Brien is 590, and Margaret Gross is number 570. They are the three Americans who are running in this Olympic marathon.
But right away, the pack has split up, and I think this is very significant. Raisa Smaknova from the Soviet Union. Charlie, you and I have seen her before. She is a front runner. She goes out very fast. In the past, she's died. She is that runner, remember, who we saw take the pins out of her number and stick them in her legs when she was starting to tire. This is one tough woman. So she is not going to give up. She is the runner in the red in third place. And Katrin Dur from East Germany in fourth place. Very steady runner. Her best is about 2:26, so she will run well, but I don't think she's really of the caliber to win this race.
This is the women's marathon, the games of the 24th Olympiad, and we'll have full coverage. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
NBC Sports presents the games of the 24th Olympiad, brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet. By McDonald's, proud partners in the Olympic dream. By Reebok. Reeboks let you be you. And by Kodacolor Gold Film. Show your true colors on Kodacolor Gold Film, the official film of the 1988 Olympic Games.
Pack has not changed. That's Lisa Martin, Rosa Mota, Raisa Smaknova, and Katrin Dur. Of the four, early on, of course, we're only 15 minutes into the marathon, who's running well?
Rosa Mota's running well, but she always runs well. Her main advantage is she's small, very light on her feet, and very, very efficient. So she always looks better than everyone else. And she's right in the right spot. You want to be second place, right on the shoulder of someone who's helping you set the pace.
And also helping us in our coverage at the 10K mark, and George Hirsch will be, the runners will gather there in about 18, 19, maybe 20 minutes. But right now we want to pick up a report from George.
Well, Charlie, it looks kind of surprising to me because they have not fully cut the traffic off on this road, and as you know, the runners are going to be here in less than 20 minutes. It is slowing down now. Usually at the 10-kilometer point in any marathon, you expect the lead pack. However, in the last two big women's marathons, that's not been the case. In 1984, by this point, Joni Benoit had broken away. She passed the first water stop, didn't take a drink, gained a few seconds, and took off, never to be headed again. Last year, Rosa Mota took a page right out of Joni's book, did the same thing in Rome, blew the doors off her competition, and by 10 kilometers, it was all hers. Today, I think the field is too strong. The runners are too savvy. I don't expect anyone's going to steal this race, not this early.
If George can, if we still have communications, what's the weather like? Because we expect wind, because this course is a windy course. It is wide open. Is that the case today?
The weather here is a little bit warmer than it's been the last few days. I would put it right now at about 65, 67 degrees. It's certainly respectable running weather, not dangerous, but that sun is beginning to break through. And I would say the last hour of this race, these women are going to have to run under fairly difficult conditions, and there is some humidity here.
And George Frank is agreeing with you about that.
And I can see that there's no wind. George, is there any wind out there?
Frank, I see some flags, and they're still at this moment. So none of the breezes that we were talking about that had been such a big factor on this course last year. Not at all.
Okay, at this point, the athletes have really topped out the highest point in the race. Now, this graphic is deceiving because the highest to lowest point in this entire course is only about 80 feet. So at the start, you can see the big peak where they only went up 70 feet from where they started. So the peaks that you're seeing in the background really show more undulations than hills. And this course really is very, very flat. Now, without the wind from the halfway point in, it's extremely flat. So I think we're going to really see some racing, and I think this course is going to be much faster than it's been in the past.
And this is the lead group. Lisa Martin of Australia, Rosa Mota of Portugal. That's Rosa actually in the lead. Raisa Smaknova of the Soviet Union, Katrin Dur of East Germany. They are the top four. They had the mini break, and they continue to stretch. Now, Greta Weitz is leading the pack behind them, which is the second pack, or it is in reality the big pack. You can see where they are in the course in relationship to the Han River, and over where you see the NBC Peacock, that's the bridge and the turnaround point on the out and back course. But now is Greta making a mistake here by not going with them?
I think Greta is making a mistake, but I think she's been hurt. She had orthoscopic surgery within 2 months. I think she's being very tentative. But I would, if I were her coach, tell her to get up there with that front pack. You've got nothing to lose. You might as well run with them, because the front pack is running at about a 2:26 marathon pace, which is not extremely fast. So if Greta's going to win, she should be able to run with them at this point.
And we're just past 5.5 kilometers into the marathon. We'll be back with more action here, but right now, let's go to water polo.
We're at the Chamshul Indoor Swimming Pool. The United States is back on its winning ways. It's 12-7 with 1 minute and 40 seconds left. This is Jim Cruz. And as the United States comes down on the attack, they're in the blue caps. They have just gotten one of the Chinese players ejected. And the reason the score differential becomes important now in this game is because of the United States' loss yesterday to Spain. Total goals scored in the tournament are going to become important if, during the preliminary rounds, there is a tie amongst any of the teams. The clock in the corner you see in the upper left-hand part of your screen is that time that's left on the ejection. The United States moving the ball around the perimeter. Jody Campbell with the ball right now. Fake, shoots, scores! So Jody Campbell picks up a hat trick today, his third goal of this game. Here you'll see him take and fake both the Chinese defender with the two hands up in front and the red-cap goalie out of position, and he slides it into the lower left-hand corner of the screen. Again in slow motion. Coach Bill Barnett calls Jody Campbell probably the most complete player on this squad at both ends of the pool. 13-7, there's 55 seconds left in the game. The Chinese, with a marvelous group of athletes, they will be a team to be reckoned with, I think, in the next 1 to 2 Olympics. All they need is more international water polo exposure. They're on the offense. Craig Wilson, the United States goalie, in the red cap to the right of your screen, has been minding the nets. These players have probably swum about 1.5 to 2 miles right now. Understand there is no bottom that they can push off. This is an all-deep course. So this becomes a very fatiguing game. 27 seconds left in the quarter. Coach Bill Barnett on the left, Steve Heason in the center of the screen, the USA coaching staff. On Monday, the United States will play Greece in the continuing preliminary rounds here, and every game becomes very important. Both the United States and Yugoslavia have very surprising losses in the first round. 16 seconds left in the game. The United States could certainly use one more goal. Evans shot, no good. Pick up, rebound, score! Terry Schroeder, the captain, number 10, picked up the garbage in front of the cage. 4th goal today for Schroeder. Watch this. Little flick shot coming off of that outside shot. Right over the head. Number 1 knee, the Chinese goaltender. So we've got 10 seconds left in the game. The United States happy with their performance today, I'm sure. 14-7. Every one of those goals, the 7-goal margin they've got, is an important one. You can tie in the preliminary rounds, and if there's a tie game, that's where these goals become important. And that's the end of the game. So the United States coaching staff happy with their victory today. They've got 2 days off to prepare for Greece on Monday. So with that being the story here at water polo, we'll go now to Bryant Gumbel.
All right, Jim Cruz, thank you. So let's catch you up on what we've seen so far. It's 14-7, the United States a winner over the People's Republic of China in water polo. We can tell you that in the women's marathon, there's been no significant lead changes. We'll be getting back to that shortly. And the U.S. women's volleyball match against Brazil is already underway. And in the first set, the U.S. women are trailing in that one. That score is 7-5. We're going to come back. We're going to catch up on all that action and much, much more when we continue from Seoul after this.
This is Charlie Jones, Frank Shorter, the Women's Olympic Marathon, and the situation has changed. As you know, when we went away, Rosa Mota, Lisa Martin, Raina Smaknova, and Catherine Durr were in a little mini pack of their own, and the second pack led by Greta Weitz. But then it was Lorraine Moeller of New Zealand who actually pulled the second pack to the first pack, and now you see what we have.
And I think Lorraine used the downhill after the 3-mile point to kind of catch up. I think the runners in the second pack realized that the pace wasn't that fast, and even though Rosa turned around and saw them catching up, Rosa then took the lead, ran a 5:24 mile, 10 seconds faster per mile than they'd been running, and yet this pack still caught up. So all of these runners are in contention, and now we couldn't tell who's running the best, although Rosa and Greta, the two favorites perhaps, in the front.
And Greta, you mentioned when she was in the head of the second pack, what she should do, she should get out to the first pack. And that's what she did. That's Margaret Gross of the United States. We will have our coverage throughout the marathon. We'll be dropping back to see how the 3 American runners are doing. And Frank, you expect them to run rather well.
I think they will run well. I think they can potentially run 2 hours and 27, 2 hours and 26 minutes. Whether or not that's good enough to win, we'll just have to see.
And again, the 3 are Gross, Nancy Dietz, and Kathy O'Brien as we go back to the front of the marathon.
Catherine Durr, very solid runner. Not real fast, but she never runs that badly. She's always in there, so she'll be a factor. Greta Weitz in the middle, number 438 with the red top, is now starting to really lead the race. So maybe she's just testing a little and see how she feels. You can see Lisa Martin right on her shoulder, and there is Rosa Mota right in the middle. Raisa Smaknova, Catherine Durr in the blue.
Number 590, that is Kathy O'Brien of the United States. How's she running, Frank?
She's running well, and she's talking to, I think it's Angela Tooby from Susan Tooby from Great Britain, and they're running along there. And very often marathoners will do that at the start of a race. They're just kind of going along and saying, how does it feel? How do you feel? Want to run together? And I think these two are maybe making a little pact here to say, look, let's run together.
Is that normal? You know, to carry on a conversation like that?
It is normal because
That's the time of day. How do you feel?
It helps you.
Breakfast?
It helps you in the start of this race because the marathon is the one race where you want to stay relaxed for as long as you can. The less nervousness you let take control of you, the better you're going to be. So if you can stay relaxed for the first 15 miles, then you have a chance to get through to the end. So the marathoners like to talk to each other. You like to find a friendly marathon runner.
And as you look now to the lead pack, it is Greta Weitz and Rosa Mota who are running so well. And in that lead pack is Margaret Gross of the United States. Our marathon coverage continues in Seoul, Korea.
As we continue to follow the progress of the women's marathon, we're going to try to keep you apprised of some other events that are going on here today. As we told you, in the main Olympic Stadium, Jackie Joyner-Kersee is going to be contesting 4 of her 7 heptathlon events. She's already contested the first, the 100-meter hurdles. She's turned in a time of 12:06.9. That is the fastest she has ever run that event in the heptathlon. Now, she has run it faster when it's been a singular event. She is, in fact, the co-American record holder in that. But it's the 3rd fastest U.S. time ever, and the fastest she has ever run it in heptathlon competition. We'll be showing a little bit of that to you a little bit later on today, as well as much more track and field competition. But right now, let's get back to the marathon. Charlie Jones and Frank Shorter.
As we come back to the women's marathon, there are 20 runners in the lead pack, and I feel this is a surprise, Frank. You agree?
I do, because I thought that group of 4 that started out in the front would really push the pace and break away, and they probably should have, but maybe they were looking at each other just a little bit too much. Lorraine Muller from New Zealand, who lives in Boulder, Colorado, trains there but is representing New Zealand in the black, has now taken the lead, and she's pressing the pace. Greta Weitz on her shoulder, and at this point in the race, the athletes will alternate the lead. They're actually, the bike racers do the same thing. Someone will take the lead, run for a while. It helps the whole pack move along. Someone else will take the lead, but you don't want to be in the lead too long. And the best thing to do is resist the temptation to go into the lead. You want to be more off the lead, where Katrin Durr is. Look at Katrin Durr in the blue on the left. She has not taken the lead in this race.
This is the marathon, but other action going on. Let's switch to volleyball.
On Young Gymnasium, this is Bob Trumpy along with Chris Marlowe. We're in game 1, the U.S. versus Brazil, and the U.S. on a 7-point run. Brazil has had game point on 5 serves. The U.S. has come back to trail by 1. Angela Rock serves. Oh, Shank. 14-14, nice serve, Angela Rock.
And really a key when Angela Rock came into the match for Kiva Phipps. Phipps not playing well. Rock and Liz Masakayan have made a difference.
Coach Terry Liskevich looking for a fire to light underneath his players. He's gotten it here. Another big block, but out of bounds. Darren Kemna hits it out of bounds. Scores 14-14 in volleyball. You must win by 2. Replacement now for Brazil. Ana Claudia Ramos comes in. And Ana Lucia Barros goes out.
Ramos has been the big gun for Brazil so far. 4 kills.
Moses serves. Oden gets it up. Kemner. There she is, the big hitter, Ana Claudia Ramos.
She's the most experienced spiker on the Brazilian team. 27 years old, and she gives them a good chance here.
Brazil with game point. Moses serves. Kessel, Rock. Nice dig, Brazil. Outside. There she is again. It's still up. Kemner.
Still going.
It's over. And finally, Brazil on its 7th attempt at game point. Win game 1, 16-14. And now we'll go back to the marathon.
As we come back to the women's marathon, we're very close to the 11-kilometer mark, and they have just passed one of the water stations. George Hirsch is out there, and we will get a report from him as to how they are running. And that pack of 20 now is starting to separate again, Frank.
It will happen because they're running along at about 2-hour and 24-minute marathon pace. They're running about 5:30 for a mile, and anyone who's jogged for their health knows that that is very good pace, and really a lot of these runners cannot maintain that pace for that long.
Is that the reason that you have to be a good 10,000 runner to participate in the marathon, because when the speed breaks come, you have to be able to react to them?
Yes. At a certain point in this race, I think someone who's going to run 5:10 or 5:15 for a mile, maybe rest a little bit, run that way again. And in order to be able to tolerate those kind of surges, you have to be a track runner. You have to be trained to run hard and recover.
And in the background, there is the bus station where daily 223 buses depart their longest trip, about 4.5 hours, to Busan. Now back to the race. Number 438 is Greta Weitz. see right in the middle of your screen. 260 is Katrin Dur of East Germany. And on the left is Rosa Mota of Portugal. And they well could be the three medalists, although we are a long way from deciding that. Nancy Dietz of the United States, number 563. She has her own support group. Her family is here, and they're here in Seoul to cheer on. They've been at all of our major marathons, and they call themselves Team Dietz. Let's go to George Hurst.
Well, it looks good. Rosa Mota looks wonderful. Greta's running very, very easily. It's a big pack. I'd call it about 13. And Margaret Gross of Nashville, Tennessee, is just trailing that first pack of about 13 runners. Margaret is about 20 yards behind them as they come by. Here's Kathy O'Brien of the United States running very nicely with Susan Tooby, the Welsh girl who's running for Great Britain. And I didn't catch Nancy Dietz up in that lead pack, but we certainly got a good view of Margaret Gross, Kathy O'Brien. Now there's a little bit of space here. Yeah, let's throw it back to Charlie because there's an opening here. I'd say these runners have dropped a good 300 yards behind the leaders.
Thank you, George. So some decisions, of course, already being made as we look again at the pack, beginning to reform. A pack will take a life of its own. It kind of separates, then it will come back together. In the meanwhile, they will drop some away. We'll be back to the Olympics. Back to the women's marathon here in Seoul, Korea. As you can tell, it is a little bit smoggy, a little bit hazy today. What effect will this have on the runners, Frank?
Well, in Los Angeles, they thought it would have a profound effect, but it didn't seem to affect the marathon runners. And I don't think the smog, the haze, whatever euphemism you want to use here, is going to affect them any more than it did in Los Angeles. I haven't heard any runner, the rumors that go around, you haven't heard any runner really in the marathon event complain about the smog.
Right at the left of the screen, number 438 is Greta Weitz. Right now, let's spend a moment in time with Greta Weitz.
In 1978, Greta Weitz burst on the distance running world and won the New York Marathon. It was a scene that would repeat itself over and over. And as the New York Marathon grew, so did Greta Weitz's fame. Today, Greta is so popular in America that when she was asked to be godmother to a Norwegian cruise line ship,
I, Greta Weitz, do hereby christen you the Seaward.
the christening was turned into a fundraiser for the U.S. Olympic team. While Greta has run across a world stage, home is still Oslo, Norway. And it's here, in this health-conscious country, that she started a health clinic to promote the use of exercise and diet as preventive medicine.
What I'm doing at this health center is that I'm working as a consultant for the patients that we have. They go through a 2 hours test where they test the conditions on the treadmill, and we take a lot of blood tests in the laboratory. And when the person has gone through all these tests, he comes to me, and I get the results, and I can see from the results what the problem is. A lot with food is very social, and people are quite open about you know, their eating habits and when they eat, how they eat. So it's in many ways quite interesting.
Greta's partner in the health clinic and in life is her husband, Jack. He says he doesn't remember not knowing Greta. They've been married since 1975.
Of course, she has changed quite a bit since she started her running career, especially when she came to the United States for the first time. But she She's still the same private person, but she feels much more confident.
I really don't look upon myself as a social active person. I meet a lot of people in my job as a health consultant, but except from that, we don't socialize that much at all. I'm very close to my family. I have 2 brothers, and I spend a lot of time together with them. Because to them, I'm just Greta. I'm not the running Greta Weitz, and they don't care if I'm a world champion or a world record holder. To them, I'm just a normal human being, and I really like that.
But most normal human beings don't have a statue in their honor in their hometown.
I heard that before, and it's kind of strange to have your own statue when you're still alive. And but that statue was raised, to honor the women in sport, and they chose me as a model for that. And of course, I was very honored when they did that.
Greta Weitz, number 438. She, Rosa Moda, in the middle, and Katrin Dürr of East Germany. And if you've been with us, it was Greta Weitz who had dropped back, leading the second pack, and then partially in charge of the surge, joining the lead pack, and now taking the lead. We'll continue with our coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad.
NBC Sports presents the games of the 24th Olympiad. Here's your host, Brian Gumbel.
Here in Seoul on a busy Friday morning, we're keeping our collective fingers on the pulse of a lot of events going on. We've got an awful lot of track and field action that we'll be getting to in the Olympic Stadium. And of course, we're covering the progress of the women's marathon. We can tell you that the U.S. men have defeated the People's Republic of China in water polo already this morning, 14-7. And as for the American women's volleyball team, well, they lost the first set to Brazil, 16-14, but they've stormed back in the second. Let's go out to Hanyang University. Bob Trumpy and Chris Marlowe.
Thank you, Bryant. There you see the score in Game 2, 10-4, the U.S. leading. In the middle of Game 1, the U.S. went on a 7-point run. And Chris Marlowe, since then, the U.S. women have played very much to their capability. Give me an overview of what this match means to the U.S. women.
The United States women have to win this match. If they don't, you can say Annyeong, Korean phrase that means goodbye. Their hopes are virtually over if they do not win this match, and they're getting their rhythm now. They're playing a little better. Leanne Sato into the match, and really the big key for them has been the play of Liz Masakayan. She's playing very well. 5 kills in this game. She's had a couple of blocks, and she has provided some emotional leadership.
Laurel Kessel, the setter, the senior member of this team, done an excellent job defensively. You saw that stuff at the net. And Leanne Sato serves again. U.S. now leading 11-4. The U.S. has Peru yet to play. They're the number 3 ranked team in the world. They've already been beaten by China. And that ball is out. It's now 12 for the U.S. over Brazil, and a substitution for Brazil. Ana Lucia Barros comes in. And the big hitter, Ana Claudia Ramos, comes out for Brazil. Leanne Sato, younger sister of Eric, member of the men's team. Kemner, a big block at the net. That's now 13-4.
The blocking of the United States has been unbelievable in this game. They have 10 stuffs in the match and 6 in this game. Brazil does not have 1 stuff in this particular game. And really, that's the story if you're talking about one statistic. Blocking at the net, the Americans overpowering Brazil right now.
U.S. women have a 4-1 match record against the team from Brazil in 1988. Block again. Kiva Phipps keeps it up. Set by Kessel. Kemner.
Good.
That's in. Right on the line. The white line is in.
The Brazilian blockers didn't really jump on this play, and going right by a beautiful shot from our net camera angle right on the line. Karen Kemner spiking it down.
Now Laurel Kessel serves. And that's off the block, out of bounds. Side out Brazil. Another substitution now for Brazil. Anna Moser comes in. Then Torini comes out.
On an international scale, both Brazil and the Americans have similar teams, both erratic, both very talented, can run points. They can give up a lot of points in a row. And the United States is just, in this game, doing exactly what Brazil did in Game 1.
Great deal of youth on both sides of the net here. Karen Kemner gets the spike down for the side out for the U.S. He's out of the University of Arizona. And she'll now serve. U.S. leading 13-4. This is game 2. In a match the U.S. must win. A bad pass to the net. Deidre Collins puts it down. It's now game point in game 2 for the U.S. Terry Liskevich now suddenly seeing the U.S. women's volleyball team he's used to seeing. Not the way they played in game 1. Block. And no one can get to it. Side out Brazil.
Sometimes when the ball hits the block, the blockers have to turn around. Those two blockers, they turn around that time for the United States, expecting the defense to get it. If it's right near you, if it hits you in the foot, it's a good rule. It's your ball.
Ramos comes in. Barros goes out. Moza to serve. Eva Phipps shanks it. Oh, great job by Sato. Kemner gets it over. That's off the block, out of bounds. 14-5 now, the U.S. leads.
That's the designated Brazilian rooting section. They have a rooting section for every team, so they won't feel away from home here at Hanyang.
Phipps. Masakayan, who has been the U.S.'s best hitter so far in this match. And she spikes it down. Now Leon Sato comes out. Kim Oden comes in. There's the coach of the Brazilian team, George Bados. Been there for a long time. Deidre Collins, U.S.'s best server. Kessel, Phipps, Masakayan, into the net. U.S. women sitting on game point here for quite a while. 14-5. Masakayan has 6 kills in this game, 8 in the match. And we have a substitution. Tammy Webb, number 8, comes in. Deidre Collins goes out.
She's in for defense, Bob. Defense and passing.
We also have a substitution for Brazil. And Marcia Cunha comes in. And DaCosta goes out. Masakayan. She's the hot hitter. She gets the set. She gets the kill. Once again, U.S. has game point on their serve.
She also has a very excellent serve.
See her serve deep. Yes, Shank. It's an ace. And the U.S. win games 2, its first win in the U.S. women's volleyball tournament.
Our continuing coverage of the women's Olympic marathon on a day that is now beginning to warm up. And Frank Shorter, they're setting a very good pace.
They're running at about 2-hour and 24-minute marathon pace, pretty much 5 minutes and 30 seconds for mile after mile after mile. And that's why the pack is staying together. It's almost like people are getting antsy. All of these runners could run faster at this point, but they're tentative.
Meanwhile, in Olympic Stadium, we are live again. Ben Johnson. This is the 8th heat of 13 of the men's 100 meters. This is first round. The 3 top finishers plus the 9 best times out of the 13 heats will move through to the second round. Already, Calvin Smith of the United States has moved through. Dennis Mitchell is in the 11th heat, and Carl Lewis is in the 13th heat. As you can see here, Ben Johnson is in heat number 2. And that same explosive start, and this is just a stroll in the park for Ben Johnson. As now he will coast in. In lane 2, Ben Johnson of Canada, the world record holder. You saw him on NBC setting that record of 9:83 in Rome. And there has been a lot of talk around the Olympic Games is exactly, Frank Shorter, his condition.
It's not so much how fast he is, because in workouts for 60 meters, he's been as fit as ever. The question is, can he make it through all the rounds? Can he get to the final? Ironically, it's a long way to the final for Ben Johnson.
Now, with a new shaved head, will he be even faster? Is there less wind resistance?
His start is so fantastic. Watch how quickly he comes up. He jumps up. Both feet come up, gets into the sprinting position faster than anyone. This is where he has his advantage. He looks around, he says, well, when should I start slowing up? Here, no, maybe I'll run a little further. Now I'll start slowing up. There, he eases in, and that works right into his hands because he needs to make it through all the rounds as easily as possible.
This, of course, live in the Olympic Stadium, as the marathon obviously is live out on the streets of Seoul. Guess who? Carl Lewis. Now, this is the warm-up track where the athletes come, they check in, and then they warm up and they stay loose, and then they go through a procedure of coming back in, making sure they have the right uniform, their right number, into a holding area, and then they come out to run the race. Of course, again, Carl is about 5 more heats away, and when he comes out, then we will go back live to the stadium. We come now back live to the streets of Seoul to the women's marathon.
And this lead pack of about 12 runners, pretty much evenly distributed east and west. That's what I find interesting. You have East Germany. The 3 Soviet runners are in there. You have Portugal, Rosa Mota there, Greta Weitz representing the west, as it were. Carla Borskins on the left. She's in her 30s. I think she's 36 years old, and she's running very well. So they're in the lead pack. Lorraine Muller in the black, who was leading before, has fallen off. Again, running 5:30 mile after mile after mile.
There are 12 women now in the lead pack. The separation continues and will continue after these messages.
Back in Seoul, the third set of the U.S. women's volleyball game against Brazil is already underway. Having split the first 2 sets, the U.S. women find themselves trailing in that third set by a score now of 4-0. We'll be catching up on that action in just a little bit. And as Charlie Jones noted, we'll be keeping you abreast of all the action coming out of the main Olympic Stadium when Carl Lewis runs his heat, when Edwin Moses runs his, when Jackie Joyner-Kersee continues her pursuit of the heptathlon goal. We'll be checking in there for some of that action. All of which means Charlie Jones will be busy because he is continuing to chart the progress of the marathon. Let's join him again. He's along with Frank Shorter. Charlie?
Greta Weitz and Rosa Mota in front of this pack, along with Lisa Martin. And it is a pack now of 13 officially. We had a chance to give an official count, and interestingly enough, we can identify 12 of the 13. Rosa Mota, Katrin Dura, Greta Weitz, Lisa Martin, Carla Borskins, Zoya Ivanova, Zhao Yafeng, Maria Kuratolo, Laura Foley, Raiza Smaknova, Ziyong Hundi of China, and Tatiana Polovinskaya, the 23-year-old runner from the Soviet Union that Frank picks as a possibility to win this. The reason that you pick her, 23 years of age, not a lot of experience internationally as far as distance running is concerned.
But over the last 2 years, she has come down from 2 hours and 36 to 2 hours and 31 to 2 hours and 28 minutes for the marathon. And that's what's important. In the Olympic Games, especially in the marathon, you look for someone who's on an upward curve. You look for someone who's improving, and she, of all the Eastern European runners, seems to be improving. Smaknova and Ivanova have been around a long time, and they've been running at the 2 hour and 28 minute level, but they haven't been getting better.
Also joining us on our telecast is Dr. Paul Thompson, who is NBC's sports medicine analyst, and a time to check in with him and a report on just how the weather that we have here in Seoul affects marathon runners. Dr. Thompson?
Thanks, Charlie. As a rule of thumb, when it's a good day for the spectators, it's not that good of a day for the runners. That's because when the temperature's high, the runners generate a lot of extra body heat. That slows them down, can lead to dehydration at the end of the race. Another problem, especially in Korea, is humidity. Korea is a peninsula surrounded on 3 sides by water. The humidity interferes with the evaporation of sweat, and it's not sweating that gets rid of extra heat, it's the evaporation of sweat. So I'm less concerned about the air pollution here in Seoul, more concerned about the temperature and the humidity.
All right, thank you, Doctor.
And I think what's important here is to realize that Rosa Mota has run in the heat and humidity. Last year in Rome, it didn't affect her at all. And I think it's because she's very small, she's very thin, and she does dissipate the heat. She gets rid of the heat better because she doesn't have as much body mass.
And as you can see by our map, we are nearing the halfway point. Some runners some run better in heat, some run better in wind. Some do not let anything bother them. I think in one respect, the Rosa Mota is of the mindset of whatever the conditions are, that's what she is going to run in. And most of your great athletes are that way.
I think so. And Lisa Martin, by contrast, led for a good deal of the World Championships last year and then faded and said that the heat and humidity really did affect her. But she looks much, much better this year. Number 17 in the green shorts on the right of the screen, running much more easily than we've seen her recently.
It seems as if everyone, all 13 in the lead pack, are running rather well.
They're all running extremely well because they're running within themselves, as we say. They are not at their limit. None of these runners is at her limit. And so they're watching now. They're actually waiting. The waiting game has started. They're going along at 5 minute and 30 second pace just fast enough so no one behind can catch up. They can drop the people who aren't quite in as good a condition. And at some point, I think, when they cross the Han River and head back downwind, although there's only a little bit of wind, once they head back, there's a flat spot on the far side of the bridge. Marathons that we've watched before here, when people go across that bridge, make a right-hand turn and head for home, they really start to run. So maybe something will happen there.
Those of you that have been watching, and you like us, you try and count the numbers, you may have wondered, is there a little small short head that's bobbing right in the middle of the pack? She's from Italy. Her name is Maria Corratolo, and she is right there amongst the leaders.
Because she deserves to be. She's run about 2 hours and 30 minutes for the marathon, and this is the Olympics. So even though they're on about a 2 hour and 25-minute pace now, she can tolerate this for the beginning. And what you want to find at the Olympics is people like this who suddenly make a little surge in ability. So maybe a year ago she couldn't maintain this pace. Now she can. There's Rosa Mota in the white, in the center, looking very easy. Lisa Martin looking good. That's Zoya Ivanova on the red. That's Laura Foglier from Italy in the blue.
Right there. of China on the far right.
And she's been at the back of the pack the whole way. Every once in a while the pack gets a little bit away from her. She runs back up to catch up.
So it's truly an international pack that we have here leading the women's marathon. Our coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad continues from Seoul, Korea.
This NBC Sports presentation of the games of the 24th Olympiad is brought to you by Socrates, helping children learn one-to-one from video technology. By Wear Dated Carpet by Monsanto, with stain protection locked in before the carpet's a carpet. By Seagram's Coolers, who proudly sent over 500 family members of the U.S. teen athletes to the Summer Games. And by Federal Express, the official air express carrier of the 1988 Olympic Games.
Back in Seoul on a Friday morning, the U.S. women continue to have a surprisingly difficult time with a volleyball team from Brazil. The two sides split the first two sets, but as you can see, the American women losing in the third set, 7-6. I say surprisingly difficult because these two squads have met 5 times this year, and the Americans have won 4 of them. Let's go back to the marathon once again. Charlie Jones, Frank Shorter.
Thank you, Brian. We continue to have the lead pack as we reach towards the halfway point. It's Rosa Mota, Katrien Dura, Grete Waitz, Lisa Martin, Carla Borskins of Holland, Zoya Ivanova of the Soviet Union, Zhao Yofeng of China, Maria Corratolo of Italy, Laura Foglier of Italy, Raisa Smeknova of the Soviet Union, Tatiana Polovinskaya of the Soviet Union, Xiong Hundi of China, and Marianne Panfil of Poland. That is the lead group.
When they went by that last water station and picked up the bottles, certain people will speed up just to see who's holding on. You can see it spreads out after the water stations. People will sometimes grab their water bottle and really sprint just to try to spread out the pack, because that's where you find out who really needs the water.
And meanwhile, a reminder that our live cameras are standing by in Olympic Stadium for the 13th heat of 13 in the men's 100 meters, this being round 1. And that heat will feature Carl Lewis of the United States as he starts his quest for his 4 gold medals that he captured in Los Angeles, right?
The runners are now getting onto the Mapo Bridge, heading to the halfway point. When you saw that 21 marker before, that was 21 kilometers, which is just this side of halfway, just about 13 miles. You can see they're almost 13 miles into the race. They've just gone past the NBC Broadcast Center out on the island. Now, psychologically, I think the runners are saying, as soon as we get across this bridge, we're heading home. And I'm getting antsy, so I think they're getting antsy.
And a live shot of Carl Lewis as he awaits his heat in the first round of the men's 100 meters. Talked to him a couple of days ago, and he said, I'm ready. Let's go run. Now we come back live to the marathon coverage, back on the bridge just past the halfway point.
And something interesting to watch here is on the right-hand side of the screen, Tatiana Polovinskaya, the woman in the hat, turned around backwards. When she grabbed her water bottle, she got left a little bit behind, and she's had to struggle to catch up. If you keep watching her, maybe at the next aid station they'll leave her. She's just hanging on the back. She's on the right-hand side at the rear of the pack. And there's Rosa Mota running very, very smoothly. Of all all the marathon runners in the world, I feel she is the smoothest. Her form is best.
To the top marathoners that have gathered here, advantage or disadvantage to have this size of a pack, or would you rather be out by yourself?
I think at this point you want a pack, and you want to be either in the back of the pack or controlling the pace. And I think Rosa right now is controlling the pace. If there were a wind, you would not want to be at the front of the pack once they turn downwind when they come across this bridge. They are at the northeastern portion of the course now. They will now make a right-hand turn off of this bridge and head to the southeast, and the prevailing winds are from the northwest. So the wind will be pushing this pack. That's Tatiana Polovinskaya there in the hat. Carla Borskins in the white top. Greta Weitz, number 438. This is just waiting time. This is where you really start to get nervous when you're in this pack, because you're waiting for someone to do something. And I think with Rosa Mota out in front here, she's out there to be visible. They're watching her. That's a very, very good tactic. You want the other athletes to be watching you. I think she's not so far ahead that she's really breaking the wind for anyone, because it's really coming from their side now, but she's visible to everyone, and they're watching her.
And an update on the Americans. Margaret Gross is 45 seconds back. Kathy O'Brien is 1 minute back. And Nancy Dietz is 1 minute and 10 seconds behind this lead pack. And this is the first time you pick up. You know, one of the things you always notice at marathons is that people will come out along the sidewalk and run right along with them. Carl Lewis. Quick shot of him. We'll have him live when he has his heat. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. You're looking now at Olympic Stadium, and inside of Olympic Stadium, the heats of the men's 100 meters. This is the first round. First of 4 rounds. The second round will take place in about 3.5 hours today, and then the semifinals and finals scheduled for tomorrow. This is Carl Lewis, of course, of the United States, running in heat 13 of 13. I wonder if the numbers have anything to do with it. His number is 11:02. And he is starting the quest, as I'm sure that most of you know by now. He won the 4 Olympic medals in Los Angeles. He won at the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the long jump, and the anchoring the 4x100 relay. And as we set up Carl Lewis, let's go back. We have a break at the marathon. Frank?
In the marathon, Rosa Mota made that right-hand turn off the bridge and put the accelerator down. She made a surge. Now, whether or not she'll continue or is just testing the pack remains to be seen. But what you look for when this happens is who goes with her. And the 2 athletes who went with her were Katrin Durr of East Germany and Lisa Martin from Australia. Okay, so Lisa Menley is in this race. Now the pack is catching back up. But when we showed the World Cup Marathon last year on this very same course, it was the same point where a break was made. So this was a very key point in the race. You can see things start to spread out. Greta Weitz is falling back.
So we go back inside of Olympic Stadium. The lane assignments, Carl Lewis is in lane 2. Triabel is in 3. Sully is in 4. Polly is in 5. Bull in 6. John Mayer in 7. And Arquise is in 8. And as you can see, truly another international Olympic first round heat. Carl Lewis very easily coasted through this. Ben Johnson's time was 10:37. Calvin Smith has moved through, and Dennis Mitchell of the United States, they have all moved through to the next round. As I mentioned, Carl Lewis trying to repeat his 4 goals of Los Angeles. Keep in mind that no athlete has ever repeated in the 100. No athlete has ever repeated in the 200. And no athlete has ever repeated in the long jump. So Carl is trying to accomplish one of the all-time Olympic feats. A feat that if he is successful will go down into the record books, and 40 and 50 years from now they'll be writing poetry and songs about this great athlete. So the quest begins right here. The 3 top finishers in this heat, plus the 9 best times in the 13 heats that do not make the top 3, and then move through to the second round in about 3.5 hours. So our first look at Carl Lewis. Pull back and give you a look at the stadium. And the track here, Frank, and you mentioned it is a soft track, but it is a very quick track. And they use special spikes on it. It's a little bit different than the European tracks and than the American tracks.
It's very, very fast. The athletes like it. They used to have silly rules about you can only have so many spikes in your shoes, and they don't worry about that anymore. They'd rather have traction. And these sprinters really need long spikes. because they generate a lot of power when they come out, and they don't want to slip.
This, of course, the men's 100 meters. And if you saw Bob Costas' interview yesterday with Carl Lewis, you do, of course, know the story that the gold medal that he won in Los Angeles at the 100 meters, when his father died, he placed it in his hands, and that medal is buried with his father. But he said that medal belongs to him. And of the 4 that he's trying to repeat, he said this one is the most important to him. Carl Lewis at the far right of your screen. Lane 1 is open. Carl Lewis is in lane 2. And we have a false start. Jean-Charles Trouable of France in lane 3 is charged with a false start. For those of you that haven't followed that much track and field, there are 2 false starts allowed by an individual. That one is okay. It is marked. If he has another one, then he is out of the race. Here's a look at the false start. Olympic nerve. And so we will come back and regroup. Interesting about the starters, you might wonder, the athletes, they have certain times at the workout tracks and at the tracks by the village that the starters are there. And like it'll be announced from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. You can come by in the afternoon at that time, and you can get used to the sounds and get used to the rhythm of the starters. Although they try to hold and they try to make it uniform throughout the world. When an individual is involved, of course, everybody is a little, has their own rhythm. And you have a chance to work with that rhythm, Frank.
Well, the problem with starters is sometimes they start competing with the athletes, and they say to themselves, this guy is not going to beat me, and it becomes a contest. But the starter's job is to make sure everyone is set and not moving and fire the gun. He shouldn't be trying to prevent someone from getting a good start. He is supposed to wait until everyone is set and then fire the gun.
You might notice also the little speakers that are behind all of the starting blocks. That is so all of the athletes that is wired up to the gun so that everyone can hear it at the same time. Good start. Now Carl shifts gears, and he pulls away. In what is the unofficial motto of the Olympic Games? No problem. Carl Lewis easily through to the next round. And there is Ben Johnson. He is back in the warm-up area that we talked about earlier. This is the check-in area where you can stay loose. And then Carl, his work is done, and he wants to go right back to the warm-up track. Here's an isolate on Carl.
Carl Lewis only has to worry about his start because from 50 meters in, he's the fastest man in the world. And this is a good start. He is out ahead. And as long as he can be ahead by 50 meters, no one can catch him because he catches everybody from 50 on in. Carl looks very, very good.
Did you notice, though, did my eyes deceive me? Did his starting block slip just a little as he started? As he came out of them? No, it was just the liftoff.
It was just the liftoff.
Yes.
They will move a little bit. That was just the slow motion catching him. But he's got a very good start. That's half a step. That's great.
And so that is the situation inside the stadium. The marathon continues outside the stadium. Also going on, volleyball. Let's go there.
Thank you, Charlie. It's game 3. Brazil broke out on top in this game 5-0. The U.S. has fought back to now take the lead 13-12. Angela Rock will serve. Kiva Phipps is out. The story in this game has been service errors. That's a call on the U.S.
And you're not allowed to block the set. You can block the ball, but as long as the setter, the Brazilian setter, was trying to set the ball, you cannot touch it. So Brazil gets the side out as they make a substitution.
Big hitter for Brazil. Ramos back into the match. Number 11, Barros, goes out. I'll give you that service error statistic in a moment. It will tell the story of this game. Blocked. Kessel keeps it alive. Kemner again. And this time outside the block. In this match, the U.S. has had 14 service errors. In this game, they've had 8. The difference, Brazil in the match, just 2 service errors, and in the game, just 1. Oden serves. 13-12. Game 3. They split the first 2. Rock. Masakayan. That's Venturini off the block. Side out Brazil. And another replacement now. Tammy Webb, number 8, comes in. And Kim Oden, the team captain, comes out. Serving for Brazil. Saruaji. Oh, Deidre Collins on a lift.
And they called the attack by Deidre Collins. The referee, Ho, and to the dismay of Terry Liskevich, that was a call on the shot, actually, and you can't do that. This referee has not been letting that go.
Behind Terry Liskevich, Jim Imes, the assistant coach, Kessel. Nice set, Kemner. Oh, that's a good save by Laurel Kessel. Kemner now 8 kills in this game, 16 in the match.
This is one of the best rotations for the United States. Their best defensive player and server Kessel back there, and the big guns are in front.
Rotation meaning placement of players. Kemner gets it over. Free ball now for Brazil. Once again, the big hitter, Ramos. Ana Claudia Ramos, 5'10", 27 years old. And there's the fans of Brazil and their coach, George Barros. Rock. Kessel. Kemner. Now Brazil into the net. Side out, U.S. 13-13. Cho Young-ho from Korea, the number 1 referee. Aaron Kemner to serve. Again out to Ramos. Blocked well at the net. Deidre Collins. Angela Rock. Game point. The U.S. Liskevich and Imes. There's Angela Rock. Here's a free shot. Kept alive. Game point for the U.S. Blocked. The U.S. comes back after trailing 5-0 at the beginning of Game 3 to win Game 3. 15-13 now back to the marathon.
We have 4 in the lead pack with 3 medals awaiting them. Rosa Mota, Katrine Dura, Lisa Martin, Polovinskaya, Raisa Smaknova, the Soviet Union, has dropped back. Greta Weitz has also dropped back. Nancy Dietz, Margaret Gross, and Kathy O'Brien of the United States have all dropped back. So it is Rosa, it's the group right here, right now, these 4, with 3 medals awaiting them. And there's a look at the Americans. We'll be back.
Welcome back to the games of the 24th Olympiad. Here's your host, Brian Gumbel.
Back in Seoul, we're into day 7 of the competition, and we are awaiting the first step of Edwin Moses towards his 3rd gold medal in 440 hurdles. And we'll be getting back to the marathon in just a moment. There you see Edwin over at the main Olympic Stadium getting himself warm. I wanted to tell you, add a quick postscript to the boxing controversy that's made the rounds here, perspective being everything. This is the Korea Times, and yes, they did report on what happened at the Chamsil Students Gymnasium, but the headline above it says, "Unfair judging spoils Olympic boxing bouts." And without reading you the whole story, I'll simply tell you how it begins and ends. It says Korean bantamweight Byung Jung-yeol fought 2 men, his opponent, a Bulgarian boxer, and the referee, and lost the bout. And as for the fighter, it said Young Byun staged a 67-minute protest sit-in inside the ring. He should have found other, more appropriate ways of protesting. On some things we all agree. Well, let's go back out to the marathon. Once again, Charlie Jones and Frank Shorter.
We're approaching the 27-kilometer mark with the Magic 4. Rosa Mota of Portugal, Katrine Dura of East Germany, Lisa Martin of Australia, and Tatiana Polovinskaya of the Soviet Union. She is only 23 years of age, young for a marathoner. When I mentioned this to Frank on the bus out this morning, Frank Shorter said, I was 24 when he won in 1972. And you pick her. You pick her.
Well, I picked her to do well. At this point, I wouldn't pick her to win because Rosa Mota is in control of this race. And I'll tell you why.
Tell me how.
I'll tell you why. On the right-hand side of the screen is the shortest distance, the blue line. She's not even close to it. For some reason, Rosa is out in the middle of the road, and guess what? Everyone's following her. So they're looking at her. Remember what I said before about watching? You want the other people watching you. You can't have any more watching than blindly following someone who's not even running the shortest distance in the course.
Have you seen this before? Have you seen this happen in a race before?
I have seen this before in many races, and that's how you tell. If you look at Lisa Martin, she is looking down at the back of Rosa's feet. She's just saying, hang on, hang on, hang on, keep running. Katrin Durer tried to run into the front while we were away and take the lead, and Rosa just sped up and didn't let her do it. Now Rosa realizes, see, where she was, and she's going back to the blue line. And so they're just following. I mean, Rosa runs in the lead, sets the pace, and the others follow. So at this point, I would say she is in control of this race. Now, something may happen. You never know, because they've got a long way to go, but Rosa, as we said before, never runs that badly. She never blows up. So at this point, she is in control.
Of the four, are they all running well?
Yes, they are. Lisa seems to be hanging on a little bit. Katrin Durer, she surprises me because she's a little bit big for a marathon runner. You can tell in comparison to the others.
That's number 260 at the blue white.
Yes, and Tatiana Polovinskaya looks very good. At each water station, she kind of slows down and drops back a little and then speeds up and catches the group. But you can see what you do in this race is when you're just trying to get into the tempo and mesmerize yourself and get pulled along, you look down kind of at the butt or the feet of the person in front of you and just fall into their rhythm and let them pull you along, and that's what's happening.
Now, we mentioned earlier that Lisa Martin had changed her training, moving all things around, changing coaches, changing sports psychologists, and you do not, in one respect, did not agree with this because making changes, you like to have the familiar when you go into a marathon, but so far it seems as if this has worked for her, because I think she is running better, at least appears to be running better, than she was in Rome.
We will find out when Rosa Mota decides she wants to run 15 seconds a mile faster than she is right now, makes a spurt, and Lisa has to decide whether or not she goes with her. That's when we'll find out.
What about the other two runners? Will they go with her?
They will try, because at this point, if Rosa makes a break, she's won the race, and everyone else here knows that. Whoever makes the break and gets the lead from here on in of these four runners, Rosa is the one I would not let out in front of me. She is never going to get caught.
Let's go out now to George Hurst. George?
The four lead runners just look very, very smooth. Everybody seems to be keying on Rosa Mota out there. There's no question she's the one in control. But this is exciting as we can get. It's a dream race. We've got four runners heading on to the Ponpo Bridge. Right here, they're at the 17-mile mark right now. Here comes Greta, and she looks like she's hurting. I don't like seeing this because she's got 9 hard miles to go coming off that knee surgery. I've not seen Greta struggle like this in a marathon. Okay, and it's back to Charlie from the Ponpo Bridge.
All right, the women's marathon continues here in the Olympic Games in Seoul, Korea, and our live coverage will continue, so don't go away. We'll be back in just a moment.
Out at Hanyang University, the U.S. women continue to have a difficult time in volleyball against the women of Brazil. Having won 2 of the first 3 sets, the Americans find themselves trailing in the 4th by a score of 6-1. Let's get back to the marathon.
We're back at the women's marathon, and the 4 runners in the lead pack, Rosa Mota, Katrin Durer, Lisa Martin, Tatiana Polovinskaya from Portugal, East Germany, Australia, and the Soviet Union. They continue to interchange. But the reality of it is, and Frank pointed this out, George Hurst also pointed this out, and the fact that you picked them up coming down the double yellow line, which in reality means no pass, but the blue line is what they're running on, is that Rosa Mota is in complete control of the race.
They really are watching her. Now, they may feel pretty good, but she seems to be the one who's speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down. She ran a 5:44 mile from mile 14 to 15, 5:26 from 15 to 16, 5:32 from 16 to 17. So she's varying the pace back and forth, and they're just letting her do it. So she's in control, but at a certain point, she's going to have to break away, because at a certain point, it will be a disadvantage to be in front and let them pull off you, because you can actually gain from behind in that the lead runner will break the wind. They figured it a 7% energy saving if you run on someone's shoulder the way Lisa Martin is running on Rosa Mota's shoulder. So even though Rosa's in control, Lisa is putting out a little more effort, but it seems to me that Rosa is in better shape.
The highest compliment that you pay to Rosa Mota is the fact that she never has a bad race. And that, I think, is the ultimate compliment from a marathoner to a marathoner. Right now, let's spend a moment in time with Rosa Mota.
Porto, a working-class city of 400,000 on the Portuguese coast, about 200 miles north of Lisbon, is known for two things. It's the home of port wine, which has been produced here since the 1600s. Port houses abound along the shores of the River Douro, their cellars stocked with thousands of casks where the treasured port is aged under the watchful eye of the wine masters. A unique concoction fortified with Portuguese grape brandy. Its taste is the pride of Porto. As is marathoner Rosa Mota, a wisp of a woman who grew up running through this city's cobblestone streets. Last year, Rosa, all 99 pounds of her, became Porto's #1 export, winning the women's marathon at the World Championships in Rome.
I think it's nice for Portugal because we are a small country, poor country, and in that moment we are bigger and a big country, and all Portuguese can see our flag.
The Portuguese are used to seeing their flag wave after Rosa runs. She has won 9 of the 12 marathons she has entered, including Boston the last 2 years. Her countrymen are also used to seeing Rosa run along the beach in Porto every day, rain or shine. Running is her job and her hobby, leaving little time for much else. Rosa just runs. Her longtime companion and coach, Jose Pedrosa, says he never worries about her burning out.
I think she's a little bit different from everybody else that I have been seen in marathons. Because she enjoys much more than the other people what she does. She never finished struggling. She never finished really, really tired. So I don't think she's in that category of people that really almost kills themselves in a race. She loves too much running to suffer that much.
Along with countryman Carlos Lopes, who won the men's Olympic marathon in 1984, Rosa Mota has made running as popular as soccer in Portugal. She explains why the Portuguese are destined to run distance.
First, I think we are a poor country, and we don't have a good facility for training. We don't have a lot of coach, we don't have tracks, we don't have nothing. We have only streets for running. I think that's one of the good things we have, and old people run a lot.
Few run as much as Rosa, whose normal day includes a long morning run, an afternoon nap, and another long run before dinner. Her time is precious and in great demand. Jose finally had a telex machine installed in their apartment to handle the many requests for appearances. Visits to schools, especially for small children, are the ones Rosa likes best. She's a humble hero with simple tastes.
She likes to run, she likes to stay home, she likes to have a lot of friends, and I think that's me.
Yes, that's she, the world marathon champion and the toast of Porto, a city where the wine runs day and night, and so too does Rosa Mota.
And Rosa Mota now trying to become the toast of the Olympics. She's in the lead pack, and we'll be back with more of the games in a moment.
This NBC Sports presentation of the games of the 24th Olympiad is brought to you by United Airlines, airline of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. By Buick and your Buick dealer. The Great American Road belongs to Buick. By the American Express card, proud to sponsor the United States equestrian team. And by new Tartar Control Aqua Fresh. It's great tartar control, great taste, and a great deal more.
It's day 7 of the games in Seoul, and with a full day of competition already underway, you can see Brazil leading the American women 12-7 in the 4th set of their best-of-5 affair. The U.S. leads 2-1 in sets after 3. You see the 4th in progress. And you see Edwin Moses obviously uptight as he prepares for his first hurdle, for his first step towards a 440 gold. He's looking for his 3rd in that event. He, of course, a gold medal winner in 76 and in 84. And the marathon is proceeding through the streets of Seoul once again. Let's go back to Charlie Jones.
These are the 4 runners in the lead pack of the women's marathon. And as you know, there are 3 medals to be awarded, the gold, the silver, and the bronze. And of the 4, the least is known about Tatiana Polinvinskaya of the Soviet Union, age 23, 5'5", 119 pounds, and she is running with the cap turned around.
All we know about her is that in the last 2 years, she has gone from 2 hours and 36 minutes in the marathon to 2 hours and 28 minutes in the marathon. And she's only 23, which means she's got to be improving. In the marathon and in a lot of distance running events, you really don't get good until your body has finished growing. You really start to mature. And for most people, this is at the age of 22, 23, or 24. So all the hard training that she's done is now beginning to come around and benefit her. So she really is the unknown, but not unexpected.
Does it happen in reality that early at age 23, 24? I'd always heard that maybe it was 28, 29, and 30.
No, that's when you can first, I think, really benefit from hard training. That's why I think younger runners in particular don't need to train that hard when they're in high school or college, really, because they're not going to get the benefit of that training until they're in their early 20s.
We talked about it earlier in the telecast. The pack was larger, and we saw it when 2 runners were running together. They were talking, and I noticed here that Lisa Martin and Rosa Moto are talking. I think Rosa turned and said something to Lisa. Maybe, what is she running up behind her, or stay back, or is it a friendly conversation at this point? At this point, you're establishing precedence.
I think it was not a very pleasant moment for Rosa because she wanted the inside. She was trying to run along the line, and Lisa Martin was blocking that, running on her shoulder so closely that she couldn't get over to the line. And so Rosa kind of turned around and pointed down and said, well, heck, if you're not going to lead, at least let me have the blue line. And you can see that now she's on the inside.
Are they getting a little testy?
I think they are. Rosa's face is starting to change as we watch.
That's Olympic Stadium. We go live inside for the 3rd heat in the first round of the men's 400-meter hurdles. And this, of course, is the heat that Edwin Moses is in. He'll be in lane 6. Now, on Wednesday, the stadium was open to the athletes, and Edwin came out. What time is it? It is now 19 minutes after 11 here, unofficially. He got off of the bus at 10 o'clock. He walked through the sign-in procedures. He loosened up. He went over to where they would check to see the number is correct, the uniform correct, and if it's pinned on. Then he went back underneath the stands into a change room where he changed. Then he went down into the holding room where they wait. And they have 4 lanes of track outside of that holding room, and he set up a couple of hurdles. And he worked out, and he loosened up. Then he came out and he walked down onto the track. Then he went around and placed the hurdles, and then he started his workout. But he went through. There were no surprises today for Edwin Moses on the procedure to take him to this point.
We were talking about Lisa Martin before in the women's marathon, changing her routine. Edwin Moses has probably not changed that routine since 1976. He's been pretty darn successful with it. I think that's the way you do it.
And interestingly enough, in 1976, when he won the gold medal at Montreal in this event, this was not one of the glamour events of track and field. The official name was the intermediate hurdles. I remember Edwin afterwards had pins made, said intermediate hurdle. He would pass him out to the crowd. He alone raised this event, the men's 400-meter hurdle, to the level that it is now.
I don't think there will ever be an athlete in his event of the caliber of Edwin Moses. He was just born to the event. He's the perfect size. His inseam is the same height as the hurdles. He can just step right over them, and no one trains more consistently
or scientifically
than Edwin. He trains with a heart monitor. He reads his pulse. He really knows his body. No one knows his body as well as Edwin does. He really knows where he is. One time, he took an entire year off because he was a little hurt. He said, no, my sense is I need some time away from this. It doesn't matter that people are offering him thousands of dollars to run. He said, I need to regenerate. He did, and now he's come back.
And speaking of comebacks, how long can he continue? Comebacks can continue. That's the wrong. But anyway, will he be here 4 years from now? That's the question.
I would say no about anyone else other than Edwin.
Well, that's the way I feel. That's and a lot of writers and reporters have asked him about this, and I think that he's indicated that he just may. This is round one, heat 3 of 5 heats. Top 3 finishers plus one best time of the others will move through to the semifinals. 3 rounds, and we have a break, and so they'll come up.
Edwin's used to the false starts. In fact, sometimes you get the feeling that Edwin likes the false start just to kind of play around a little bit. He'll false start maybe on purpose if he doesn't. He's so experienced. He'll false start on purpose if he doesn't feel quite ready and quite warmed up. He'll just, boom, take a little flyer and run a couple hurdles and come back and say, okay, now I'm ready.
Edwin Moses at age 33. And while we await as they go back to the blocks, let's go back to the marathon. And Katrin Dura of East Germany has taken the lead right now in this small group of 4.
This is significant because she has not run one step in the lead until now. She's always been behind. In the first part of the race, when everyone was nervous and kind of running around and finding position, she never got in the lead.
Now, wait a minute. Rosa, there's a spun station coming up, and she's headed right to the blue line.
I can't believe that these women are not following closer to the blue line, because we've been out on the course, and we've seen that this line really does take the shortest route. Any other way that doesn't follow this blue line is going to be a little bit longer. There's no advantage in running away from the blue line, and yet they just seem to want to stay away from it. They don't even want to get near it.
As they go by the sponge station, and as you can see the blue line, it's right by the gutter. I mean, it is very, very tight. We go back now to Olympic Stadium, the men's 400 meters. This is heat 3 of 5. Edwin Moses of the United States in lane 6. The viewing tip. To the hurdles as a group to see who is going over. There are 10 flights of hurdles to see who goes over the hurdles and comes down the fastest. As you can see, Edwin is out in front.
I think he's going to run relaxed here. He's just going to try to qualify. He'll just watch the people in front. He knows his pace so well from all the training that he's done. He probably knows his split, his time over each hurdle in this heat. He says, well, this should be good enough to qualify. Okay, I'm right on. I'll just run this speed.
And if you were watching, you could tell that Branislav Karalik and Edwin Moses were going over the hurdles. He is outside in lane 8 at just about the same pace, and then you could see where Edwin closed on him. Now, inside in lane 2, lane 1 is open. That is Edgar Itt of West Germany.
Edgar Itt is the person the West Germans feel is going to replace Schmidt, and he's their real hope in these games.
And so Edwin Moses, Edgar Itt, and Jose Alonso of Spain in lane 3. Those 3 move comfortably through to the semifinal. So that is the story at Olympic Stadium. Now let's go to volleyball. Gentlemen?
I think.
Well, say it quickly. Say it quickly. We're in Game 5, and this is the way Game 4 was won by Brazil. Brazil went out to a 6-0 lead. And Chris Marlowe, bad timing here by the U.S.
Just a critical error at the wrong time for the United States. The ball is up to Kessel. She's the setter, and she and Kim Oden mistimed this play. Of all the times for that to happen on point game, Brazil gets it. It's called for a lift, and that killed off the United States in Game 4.
Terry Liskevich, the head coach. And we'll continue with coverage of women's volleyball after this.
Back in Seoul on day 7 of the games, we're keeping our eye on an awful lot of action from the main Olympic Stadium over here as track and field gets underway. Already this morning in action, we've seen Edwin Moses, Carl Lewis, and Ben Johnson. We're going to be seeing a lot of Jackie Joyner-Kersee, too. She, of course, the prohibitive favorite in the heptathlon. She's competing in 4 of the 7 events today. We'll be bringing you some of that action a little bit later. Right now, let's get back to the marathon. The streets of Seoul being watched over by Charlie Jones and Frank Shorter.
And now in the lead is Tatiana Polovinskaya of the Soviet Union. And so the 23-year-old marathoner that Frank picked because of the dramatic drop in times over the last couple of years. And now, did you notice the eyes of Rosa Mota? Who is this? This is
She's watching.
Yes, because Tatiana had been staying at the back of the pack when there was 20, and back of the pack when there was 8, back of the pack when there was 4. And as you pointed out, losing ground as you went by the water stations. But now she's made her first definitive move.
And I know Rosa. Rosa lives in my hometown in Boulder, Colorado, and I don't like the look on her face, and I was trying to pretend that it wasn't there. She does not look very calm to me. And Polovinskaya is just saying, okay, now someone else can lead. Rosa wants to lead, and I'm wondering, why does she continually want to be in front? And maybe she's saying, I don't know how I feel. Do I feel good? Do I feel bad? Let me go out and test myself. And I don't like this. I don't like that sign. Durr looks very good. Durr looks very good. And Lisa Martin just hanging in there. I can't pick a winner here. I don't know, but I don't like the look on Rosa's face.
Nancy Dietz of the United States. She is the lead American. And at last report, we had her back about a minute and a half behind the lead pack. No, she's dropped back to 3.5 minutes off of the pace. And this is the lead group.
And coming up from behind, we can just see one of the Chinese runners, I think. I think I can tell by her hair bobbing up and down, but I'm not sure which one it is, but I think one of the Chinese may be catching this front pack from behind.
21 miles completed, and the average mile pace, as you saw, 5:50.
And they have really slowed down. 5:50 is slow. Something's happening out there, and I don't think any one of those runners feels very good, because someone would have made a break by now with a mile that slow. They would want to be 5 minutes and 30 seconds per mile now to run about 2:25 for the marathon. 5:50 pace is very slow, so something is going to happen.
All right, we have smog here that we've talked about, and of course we have the heat, and so there's pollution, and also pollution in the air. And the NBC Sports Medicine analyst, Dr. Paul Thompson, was with us. And what effect will the pollution have on the runners, Doctor?
Charlie, if you had to pick a runner who would be bothered by the pollution, I'd pick Rosa Mota. The reason for that, she's got exercise-induced asthma, and pollution, specifically sulfur dioxide, which is in the air, can cause exercise-induced asthma, maybe contributing to her problems right now.
But she wants the lead. She wants to be in the lead, and I don't know why now, because at this point in the race, beyond 20 miles, they only have about 25 minutes of running left, just about 4.5 miles to go. She would either be making a break at this point or staying behind, trying to muster her energy, riding the draft of the other runners. So I don't know why Rosa is here not pressing hard. I think it's just that it's her habit to lead. She just likes to lead late in the race, and it's Zhao Yofeng from China behind, 40 seconds back, so she is not really that close. I think the lens of the camera distorts the distance, but you can see her in the background, and if they keep running 5 minutes and 50 seconds a mile, though, she's going to catch up to them pretty soon.
Now let's go out to George Hirsch on the course. George?
Frank, I think one reason that these runners may be slowing down a little, you can look at the flags behind me, and they're running into the wind. It's not a big wind, but they're not getting any assistance from it. The other thing is, the sun is now at full tilt out there, and it's hot. But we should remember one thing, and that is that this is a big league event, and women's marathon times over the last few years have come down dramatically. Since Greta Weitz came to New York 10 years ago and broke the first world record, the women have lowered the record 14 minutes. During that time, the men have only brought it down a little bit less than 2 minutes. It was in 1960 when Abebe Bikila ran, the first Ethiopian who ran in bare feet, who was the man who ran faster than any of these women are running today. Before that, these women would have won the men's marathon, believe it or not.
That's an interesting comparison, and just to show, as that progression also ties into the progression of Tatiana Polovinskaya, who has been so dramatic among this group, and she, of course, is the youngest at age 23. Rosa Mota, Katrin Durr of East Germany, and she is in the blue and white. Lisa Martin on the far left, and then the captain's turnaround is Polovinskaya of the Soviet Union. And that's where they are. Look to the far right of the course, and we have a report from the stadium. Edwin Moses' official time in his heat was 49:38. That was some men just love to get under 50, and that's just an easy stroll in the park to move through the next round. Carl Lewis's time 10:14, and that he was the fastest in the heat. Frank?
They can see the stadium now. It's impossible to miss from this point in the course. Off to their right as they look out, they can see the Olympic Stadium, but they're not home yet. They have to make another 3-mile loop up beyond the stadium once they pass it. So mentally, I think this is a really tough part in the course, because you would rather just make a right-hand turn and go into the stadium, but they're going to make you run a little bit further. But what is significant about this point is they will go down a slight hill and then be on the flats for the last 3 miles.
This is only the second women's Olympic marathon in history. And we'll be back with our coverage right after these messages from your local station.
Bob Trumpy, Chris Marlowe back. We are in Game 5. U.S. women playing the women from Brazil. The U.S. leads 7-4. And we're approaching 2 hours in this match. 7-4, U.S. leading Masakaya. Rock keeps it alive. Kessel to set. Kemner right back in her face. Kept alive again. Very tight. Calling Brazil into the net. Chris, we've seen almost 5 games. Your assessment?
Well, I think it's a very poorly played match. One of the most poorly played I've ever witnessed. Both teams making a lot of errors, and it's been just a match that the first team that plays well for 5 minutes will win this match. If it were a football game, there would be a lot of fumbles and interceptions.
In a fifth and deciding set, they changed ends at 8. Now we'll go back to the marathon.
In a marathon, 26 miles, 385 yards. Tatiana Polinvinskaya of the Soviet Union now has dropped back from the lead 3. In a marathon in kilometers, it's 42.2 kilometers. So there it is, the relationship of miles and kilometers. And the relationship of Tatiana Polinvinskaya of the Soviet Union, who is now in 4th place. And if this break is to hold, that means that Rosa Mota, Katrine Dura, and Lisa Martin are running for the medals.
And Katrine Dura right now looks the best to me. Her shoulders are the most relaxed. Lisa Martin's, she's in the blue. Lisa Martin's arms, if you watch them, they've changed a little bit from the way they were moving early on in the race. Look at her shoulders. They're up a little higher. She's moving a little more awkwardly. She's getting tired. Rosa Mota, you can see her chin is coming up a little bit. It's almost like she's trying to push forward with her chin, hoping her body's going to follow. So everyone is really starting to feel it now. But the person who seems the most relaxed is the person who's now in front, Katrine Dura.
And a note, of course, on Tatiana Polinvinskaya, we noticed that, of course, she wears the cap and she turned it around. One of the reasons is to keep the sun off of the back of your neck. And here are the 3, Rosa Mota, Katrine Dura of East Germany, Lisa Martin. Will there be another break before we get to the stadium?
We're just about at the stadium, ready to start the loop out and back, and there was a slight downhill, and I think they took advantage of this to run a little bit downhill just to test who in the pack was feeling it. And Polinvinskaya was, and she fell back a little bit, but she's been falling back at every aid station, and as she gets a drink, and then she comes and catches up again. So she may not be out of it yet. She may catch them again.
And the latest report that we have on the Americans, that the lead American is Nancy Dietz, and she is about 3.5 now, 3 minutes and 40 seconds off of the pace being set by these 3, Rosa Mota, Katrine Dura, and Lisa Martin. And now the sweep of the camera from the stadium going down to where the runners are. And this, Frank, as it develops normally by this time in a marathon, as you can see now that Tatiana Polinvinskaya of the Soviet Union has dropped back. There she is, and she is out of the race. The 3 medalists now are running together. But this late in the race, to have 3, and 3 of this caliber all running together sets up tremendous possibilities between here and the finish line.
It's going to be a wonderful finish, because the thing about the Olympics is that 3 places do count. Oftentimes in these kind of races, when you see you can't win, you say, oh, I'm just going to drop back. Medals mean something to all of these women, and so they're willing to run as hard as they can. Now it's going to be a guessing game. It really is a guessing game. Who's feeling it the most? Because everybody feels terrible at this point, and you wonder who feels the worst. Now, Rose is the best at the aid stations. When she grabs something, she spurts a little and gets a little bit of a lead. You can see that. Dura has taken her drink. Now she's coming back. Lisa falling back a little bit, but they're running a bit over 5 minutes and 30 seconds a mile now, and they're waiting. It would be as if in a distance race on the track in the mile, for instance, it's the 3rd lap. They're running in the 3rd lap, mustering, waiting for that bell lap, waiting for it to go, and essentially this race is going to come down, I think, to a track race. We may actually see 2 or 3 people on the track together.
Why does does Rosa Mota continue to lead?
I think she just feels comfortable out there. I have no idea why she wants to lead when she's not trying to break away. The only thing I can think of is that she just feels comfortable in the lead, pushing the pace, and maybe feels she's not as good a sprinter as Katrin Durr.
And so we're coming near the conclusion of the women's marathon. These are the three that are running for the medals. Who will win the gold, the silver, and the bronze? Rosa Mota has made the break, and she now has the gold. The race is for the silver.
She's put down her head and run, and she is off. She is not going to come back. She will not slow down that much. Katrin Durr better get pretty close to her within the next mile or so, or her chances are gone. And maybe that's why Rosa was out there at once. She was just gauging, pressing a little bit, seeing where people were, because all of a sudden, she just spurted. It's like someone shot off a gun, and she just took off.
And they didn't go with it. They tried to react, and it wasn't there.
It's impossible. You just can't do it. Your mind says go, and your body says
And so it is Rosa Mota of Portugal who has made the break and now continues to stretch the margin over Katrin Durr of Germany and Lisa Martin of Australia. Lisa, by the way, finished 7th in the 1984 game. Rosa Mota finished 3rd.
We talked about what they were going to run when they really started to motor. Figured around 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Well, Rosa Mota ran from 23 to 24 miles in 5 minutes and 18 seconds. So she did it. Now she's going to have to slow down. She can't keep running at this pace. But she wants to get a lead, and then her track training, her interval training, the training that you do when you're in oxygen debt, when you've gone beyond yourself, sets in. You train that way. You do repetitions, take short recoveries so that at this point in the marathon, you run your 5:18 mile, then you slow down to 5:30, and you can actually recover, and they don't catch up to you. So at a certain point, she'll slow down.
All right, now let's go back in time, and we'll pick up exactly where the break happened. There it is.
Rosa Mota just started to run. They got out onto the flats. When they went by the stadium, they came down a small hill, and then the 3-mile loop out and back from the stadium is very, very flat. So now she's basically on a track. She knows she doesn't have to go uphill or downhill. This is like in a mile, 330 yards to go. She is now sprinting. This is the marathon version of a sprint.
And that was taped earlier. That was back at, as you saw, at 30. Now we're back live at 39, almost 39.5 kilometers. And Rosa Mota, you can see, has the lead and continues just to hold.
And she's got less than 2 miles to go at this point.
Why is she not running on the blue line?
I have
She's been all over this marathon course.
I think maybe runners are very sensitive to the cant in the road, and it could be that the road is not completely flat, and so you go out into the middle of the road, nearer to the hump in the road, so you get a flatter surface. My guess is they have the road canted so much to let the rain drain off that she's uncomfortable running on a slant.
So the effect of the monsoon season in this part of the country has an effect on the marathon.
Well, it's not going to affect her place in this marathon if she doesn't slow down, because she's running great. Now Lisa Martin showing pride. She's running for medals. And then Katrin Durr also. These two runners are running as if they're running for the silver medal. Neither of them looks as if they're making a run at Rosa. They've conceded her the gold medal. Now they're running for 2nd and 3rd.
Of these two, who looks the best?
Of these two, Katrin Durr looks the best. That's why she's on her shoulder. She's using less energy. If Lisa Martin were trying to catch Rosa, she would be looking up. She would be looking up at Rosa, saying, how close is she? How close is she? But look at her. She's looking down. She's not looking ahead. She's just trying to maintain as much speed as she can.
You go into the rhythm of a metronome. Now she checks back to see exactly where Durr is. I think her mind says, that's where I thought you were. But you go into that kind of almost a hypnotic rhythm.
You do, especially when you've conceded first place and you're running for 2nd. You're just trying to get as much out of yourself as you can. And I think Rosa's made that last left-hand turn from the east to the west. She's now on Olympic Boulevard. She's heading back towards the turnoff, going into the Olympic Stadium.
And like you said, she never has a bad marathon. Rosa Mota leading the marathon. Let's go to volleyball.
Thank you, Charlie. Rosa Mota in the marathon, and the U.S. women in volleyball. A 5th and deciding set. The U.S. women lead 14-7 over Brazil. Deidre Collins serves. Match point. Off the block, out of bounds. Brazil avoids that one. The U.S. had 3 unanswered points. Coach Terry Liskevich is mic'd. You heard Brian Gumbel say earlier, these two teams met 5 times in 1988. The U.S. won 4, Brazil 1. Oh, big kill by Liz Masakayan. All 5 of those matches went 5 games. Masakayan now, match point. Kemner keeps it alive. Kessel the set. Angela Rock gets it down, and the U.S. women win in 5. Coach Terry Liskevich celebrates Laurel Kessel. The U.S. women have just won their first match. Their next opponent is Peru. U.S. fans are celebrating. Laurel Kessel wins her first Olympic volleyball game. And a postcard with victory on the back from the U.S. women's volleyball team back to the States, now back to the marathon.
We're in the final stages of the women's marathon. As you can see, Rosa Mota of Portugal comfortably out in front. And here at the Seoul Sports Complex, crowds are gathering to get a look at her as she runs her way into the Olympic Stadium. Once more, let's go back out to Charlie Jones and Frank Shorter.
She just smiled. The first time we've seen any expression other than a grimace on Rosa Mota's face. A little earlier, while we were away, she looked at someone in the crowd, did a thumbs up, and she just let out a little smile, which means she knows she can hang on. Sometimes you're in these races and you go, uh-oh, it's slipping away. It's slipping away.
But this one is not slipping away from Rosa Mota.
She was running along, saw someone in the crowds, boom, there it is. It's all right, I feel okay, just in case people are worried, and she's smiling again.
Yes.
But we've always heard that it takes more effort to smile. Or less. No, it's less effort to smile.
Here is Rosa Mota in Rome with her victory lap at the 1987 World Championships. And talk about confidence. She had stashed this flag on the other side of a small wall right after she made the less than one lap, just under one lap that you come in the stadium. That she went right over, picked up the flag from the other side, and then took her victory lap. I wonder if she has a flag stashed away here.
I'll bet she does. And she's made the turn now. She's going back into the sports complex. She's going to go through the gates into the stadium. This is the best sight, I think, in all of sport for distance runners, is to be within sight of the Olympic Stadium with about a 15 or 20 second lead.
And the relationship of the outside of the stadium, and this, of course, is the baseball stadium, and here's the corner that she will come by on the entrance to the complex. A report from inside the stadium that Kevin Young of the United States and Andre Phillips of the United States have moved through to the semifinals in their heat of the 400 hurdle. Times for Kevin Young, 49.35, 49.34 for Andre Phillips. But the lady of the moment is Rosa Mota of Portugal.
And she left it. There is Lisa Martin running very, very well for second place. She's starting to slow down a little bit. I think she's trying to preserve her place. Rosa Mota, you can see her cadence is much better. She's finishing strong. She's running for time now. She just wants to get in there and show off a little bit on the track. But you always look around. You're never quite sure. But she's pretty close to the tunnel now.
You've come through the tunnel. What is that feeling like?
The feeling is I've actually done it. I've actually won this race, because really only once in Olympic history has an athlete been passed on the track for the gold medal. Rosa's looking around going, that's it, I've got it, it's mine, I'm going to win this race. But she's not going to pick up that flag until she's done the race, Charlie.
Lisa Martin, as you saw in second, and here is that turn as she comes into Olympic Stadium with just under a lap to go.
And she ran the last 2 miles very, very well under 5 minute 30-second pace. So when that worried look on her face wasn't a worried look at all. She was just feeling herself out, finding out how well she felt. She was more comfortable in the front, and she's enjoying this. She is really enjoying this.
And the pigeon left over from the opening ceremonies is here to help her celebrate. And I think that Lisa Martin is also part of the story today, as is Katrine Dürr of East Germany. But Lisa Martin, as we've talked about, changed her regime. You know, went back to Australia, trained there, changed coaches, changed sports psychologists, changed the whole outlook, and it has paid off. There was a question whether or not it would pay off. It has paid off, but the celebration has already started for Rosa Mota of Portugal.
Lisa Martin has come as close as you possibly can. She's only about 8 or 10 seconds behind, but it's the race of her life. Don't forget, she's never run better than this. Lisa Martin has never run better than this, but not as well as Rosa Mota.
And Rosa Mota wins the gold.
And wins it very easily. Not even breathing hard, just jogging through.
2:25.39. Here is Lisa Martin for the silver.
Just about 11 seconds back, so a very credible race for Lisa Martin. Very disappointing because you can't lose by much less than that. But a silver medal is great. It's a wonderful event. It's a wonderful comeback for her. Everyone counted her out totally. But this is the woman of the moment.
Katrin Dürr of East Germany. Has the bronze. And that time is just off of Benoit's Olympic record time. Of course, that was set in the first time that this event was run in the Olympic Games. And there you see Tatiana Polovinskaya, you saw just a moment ago now. Congratulations past the finish line. And she is going for 4.
And here we have a race for 4th place.
And that is Zhao Yofeng of China.
And there's a mix-up.
There's a mix-up. Polovinskaya is coming to this side. Does she think she has to go around again?
She's confused, but she's going to finish 4th.
The finish line stretches all the way across, but she finishes out in lane 8.
Like a true distance runner, she stops her watch.
So it is an official 4th for Tatiana Polovinskaya of the Soviet Union, and Zhao Yofeng of China finishes in 5th place.
We're going to be seeing a lot more of this woman. She's 23 years old. She's got a couple of Olympics ahead of her.
In 6th place, Laura Follier of Italy. And for those of you that wonder what happens if you finish 6th, well, if you finish in the top 8, you receive the official diploma. And it's a huge certificate, very beautiful certificate of your participation and your finish in the Olympic Games. Very exciting women's marathon.
That is a very, very close finish.
Danielle Kaber of Luxembourg now on the track. Rosa Mota has the gold. Katrin Dürr the silver. Lisa Martin has the bronze in the women's marathon. We'll continue in a moment.
Welcome back to the games of the 24th Olympiad. Here's your host, Brian Gumbel.
As expected, Rosa Mota of Portugal has captured the gold in the women's marathon. Her winning time, 2:25.39. Lisa Martin of Australia with the silver, the bronze to Katrin Dürr of East Germany. The leading U.S. finisher likely to be Nancy Dietz of San Jose. Once more, back out to Charlie Jones.
Thank you, Brian. Nancy Dietz, unofficially we have her about 8 minutes behind Rosa Mota. How is she running, Frank?
Well, she's running comfortably, but at a certain point in the race, you just kind of pack it in and you say, I want to finish, and I want to finish respectably, because it's very hard to run up towards the front when you realize you're out of contention, you're out of the medal. So she's running in for pride now, but she's not going extremely fast. She's made the right-hand turn up north into the stadium. She's probably about 600 yards from the finish at this point, so she will run somewhere around 2 minutes and 33 seconds, which is very credible on this kind of day in these conditions.
And this is the tunnel that we're looking back out in the background is the baseball stadium. As you see the runners now coming in. This is 594 of the Soviet Union.
No, it's Raisa Smeknova. Raisa Smeknova, who ran so well a couple of years ago in the World Cup marathon, didn't run so well today. They were up in front. All the Soviet runners were up in front at the beginning, but she fell back pretty quickly. And you can see it really takes a toll on some of the runners. Nancy Dietz here, her tempo is actually greater than Raisa Smeknova's. Smeknova is really starting to slow down. I think Nancy sees a runner ahead of her, and as I said, you run for pride. You're at this point in the race, and you say, well, I haven't won, but look, there's somebody up ahead of me. I can catch him. I'm going to get that person. I'm going to go by that person. And I think that's Marie Lelout from France. That's Marie Lelout from France that she's passing on the track. Good show, Nancy. That's the way to finish. Finish strong.
And so Nancy Dietz will be finishing as the top American in this, only the second Olympic women's marathon. Now, Lelutho, the race is on, and this is a challenge and a battle for pride. Lelutho seems to have lost her concentration. Nancy seems to be running with much better rhythm.
Well, you can speed up because when you really give away the race, as the British say, you slow down enough that you're actually resting. You're actually pretty rested, and you have a lot more than you think you do because it's more mentally that you've given up after a while than physically. You run slowly after you let the leaders get away, and so you actually recover. This is not Nancy's best effort by any means. But she'll finish well, and that's what it's all about. Be in the Olympics, have the experience, beat someone coming into the stadium around the track, salvage a little bit of pride. It's a good show.
And unofficially, and this is unofficial, we have Nancy Dietz coming in 17th place in the women's marathon. And we'll have, of course, later in the programs that we'll be covering throughout the Olympic Games, we'll update all of the top finishes for you, and we'll have that, her official placing as the placing of the other two Americans, Margaret Gross and Kathy O'Brien.
And that's about up to Nancy's potential because, Lelutho is really hurting because Nancy Dietz really was about the 17th or 18th fastest time coming into this race, so she ran up to her potential.
Now let's go to Dave Sims. Dave?
All right, thank you. Lisa Martin with us, silver medalist, and you've come a long way since starting as a 400-meter hurdler. What was the critical point in the race for you?
The critical point was at about 38 kilometers where Rosa Mota started pulling away, and I tried to go with her, but Katrin Gore from West Germany was there too. And it was a real toss-up whether to go for Rosa and try for the gold or keep the silver. And I did my best. I got the silver, but I'm hoping to come back in 4 years and go for the gold.
I don't blame you. Rosa was really relentless out there.
She's always relentless. And, you know, one thing I want to do is beat her in a race one day. I've never done that. So that's one goal that I've still got left.
Is this the closest that you've come?
It is. It's the best race I've ever run, so I'm pretty happy with it.
What factor was the heat today?
I think it was quite significant. It was really warm out there, really dehydrating, and I feel really dizzy right now.
Well, congratulations on the silver. Thanks for joining us. Back to Charlie Jones.
And for Lisa Martin and many other marathoners, the goal is to sometime beat Rosa Mota. Rosa Mota wins the gold in the marathon.
This NBC Sports presentation of the Games of the 24th Olympiad is brought to you by Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. By Allstate, for home, auto, and life insurance. You're in good hands with Allstate. By Goodyear Certified Auto Service. Nobody fits you like Goodyear. And by MCI. Let us show you how much better a long-distance company can be.
And a look at the unofficial results. Rosa Mota of Portugal, Lisa Martin, Katrin Dürr, and then Tatiana Polivinskaya of the Soviet Union. Now let's go down to Dave Sims, and he is the top American finisher. Dave?
American finisher, Nancy Dietz. And Nance, you're telling the folks around here that you're glad this one is over. Why?
Well, it was a tough day out there for me. I ran a good middle third and just couldn't hang on at the end. If I'd kept going at that pace, I think I would have been up a little higher.
Have any idea what your pace was at about that time?
I was running about 2:26 pace through the half, 2:27, and kept that up and started passing people, but just couldn't hang on.
When was the last time you broke contact with Rose?
Well, my bottles got knocked off the table at the 5K mark, so I had to go back for them, and that's where I lost contact. And then I caught onto a second group that was running very well, and we had great pace through the halfway.
Now, will this be your last marathon?
It's going to be my last one for a while. I'm going to take a little rest now.
Okay. All right, there's the story here, the best American finisher here in the women's marathon. Back to Charlie.
All right, thank you, Dave. And Frank, when you look back at this marathon, what will come to your mind?
What will come to mind is that Rosa Mota continues to amaze in that she hasn't lost a race since 1985.
All right, let's go back. This is earlier, a few moments ago, and this is one of the Chinese runners, and she went down, and in Los Angeles, now they had people at the finish line to help them when they went down, and and to cover them and with water. And she's a Japanese runner, but it is the American and the Soviet who came to her assistance, and that is Nancy Dietz and Tatiana Polominskaya, who helped her to her feet.
Only in the Olympics would you see that. The Soviet and the American helping the Japanese. That's great. Just on instinct. One athlete to another.
And that's what the Olympics is all about.
Now when the runners come in, it's just a matter of finishing for them. They want the honor of being on the Olympic track and just feeling the experience. There's Kathy O'Brien running on the track. She ran a very good race in the Olympic trials, but she's running something over 2 hours and 40 minutes in this race. Margaret Gross right in front. So the second and third Americans will now finish not having very good races, really, about 10 minutes off their time in the Olympic trials. But Kathy's young. She's got a lot. She's 20 years old. In another 4 years, she can come back. And any athlete at some time in their career has to run in a big competition and really do poorly to help them along. You really have to know what it's like to be in the big time. So Kathy's getting the experience, as is Margaret Gross.
And so it will be Margaret Gross of the United States who finishes as the second American. And then behind her now, some 30 meters, Kathy O'Brien. And that deep sigh of relief. Unofficially for Gross, 2 hours 41 minutes. O'Brien, 2 hours 41 minutes and just a second or so. Let's go to Brian Gump.
Okay, Charlie, thanks very much. Charlie Jones' day is hardly done. He's going to be busy inside the Olympic Stadium as we follow some of the heats that are underway on this first day of athletics. A lot of the action coming from the Olympic Stadium behind me. We'll have much more of that to come. Plus, we'll be going over to the gymnastics hall at Olympic Park, the women's all-around competition. We'll be getting to that, too. There's much more ahead as we continue our coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad after a station break. As we move past 12 noon on a Friday, we're back in Seoul, and we're going to get back to our Olympics coverage in just a moment. But let's pass along a baseball note to you. It was completed, just about 15 minutes ago. The New York Mets beat the Philadelphia Phillies. Ron Darling going the distance. Final score 3-1. With that, the Mets go ahead and clinch the National League East Championship. That is not great news to some of us who happen to be Cub fans, but then again, such is life. The Mets heading towards a date, it appears, with the Dodgers. Now let's go up the road a little piece, about 4 miles from here, up to the Olympic Park, the International Gymnastics Hall, the Olympic Gymnastics Hall.
Elena Shushanova, USSR. Daniela Silovash, Romania. The two best are about to compete for the gold medal.
She's like the wind through my tree. She rides the night next to me. She leads me through moonlight, only to burn me with the sun. She's taking my heart, but she doesn't know what she's done. Just a fool to believe, she's like the wind. Just a fool to believe, she's like the wind. Just a fool to believe.
Welcome to Gymnastics Hall. This is the big Olympics moment for the gymnasts to crown the new Nadia, the new Mary Lou, the all-around champion. And the first rotation has begun. Dick Enberg with Mary Lou Retton and Bart Connor. And next up on the uneven bars will be the woman who enjoys a slight lead, Elena Shushanova. Daniela Silovash of Romania is second. There are 3 Americans in the competition, led by Phoebe Mills, the national champion. She's 6th. Brandy Johnson tied for 10th. And Kelly Garrison Steeves is 16th. That's Natalia Lishenova, very promising 15-year-old Soviet, and she scores a 9.825 on the uneven bars. Your pick, Mary Lou, on the bars.
I'm going to have to go with a perfect tie, Dick. Shushanova and Silavach both had 10s in the optional exercises, so I'm picking a tie for bars.
Shushanova finished second in the world, Aurelia Dobre last year.
What's his opening skill? It's going to be a reverse heck with a full twist. Nobody else does it. How about that? A Ginger with perfect form. It's very difficult to keep the legs tight together when you catch those release moves. Watch these giant swings. Look at the power. She sets up a full twisting double back. One hop. She's going to have to stick those landings. She might be opening the door for Silavach.
And Bart, you watched the men's competition, and it really came down to sticking the landings, didn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, Liukin lost the all-around title to Artyomov because he did not stick his last tumbling run a full in at the end of his floor routine. I think it's going to take sticking landings to win this title. Of course, there's the full twisting, reverse hecht, and the next move was called a Ginger, invented by Eberhard Ginger for the men's high bar, and Shushanova does it beautifully on the uneven bars. This is the full twisting double back. You'll see she does a double back and twists right in the middle, and she opens up just a hair early, and of course the hop on the landing will have to be a 1/10 of a point deduction.
And there it is, a 9.90. And there's some similarities here, Mary Lou Retton. Shushanova and Silavach, you were battling Szabo of Romania in '84, and it was the same rotation.
Absolutely. I started on bars, and both of the competitors are going to end on vault. And I tell you, it's going to be a battle. I think the floor exercise is going to determine it.
Now, you were the Shushanova type. She's the power gymnast. And Silavach?
Absolutely. Silavach was the Szabo, or is the Szabo type. She's more the perfectionist, the technician. As you can see, her bars is so precise. No form breaks whatsoever.
I think there's a little bit of an advantage for Silavach in that she's going to follow in every rotation except the vault. She'll be following Shushanova. So in other words, she'll take advantage of the setup. The scores will be high, and if Silavach can just hit her routines, the 10s might be there.
She scored a 10 in the optionals, as did Shushanova in the unevens.
Keep in mind that Shushanova is just 5/100ths of a point ahead of Silavach, and Silavach right now, so far, is just nailing this routine. There's a stuck landing. That's what we got to watch for today.
She needs a 9.975 to take the lead. 9.9 for Shushanova. How did it appear to you, Mary Lou?
Absolutely. I think Silavach definitely has a lead over Shushanova. And Bart, I totally agree with you. Those landings are going to be the most important thing. Every 10th, if you take a 10th for a dismount on every event, that's at 4 tenths, and you cannot allow that one hop or that one step. In fact, that's what opened the door for me in '84. Szabo, excuse me, Szabo took that one step off of the bars, and I opened the door, which opened the door for me.
A perfect 10 for Dobre, and it may take that kind of high level, or Silavach, and we were thinking about Dobre being the world champion, and she has fallen to 6th, where she's tied with Phoebe Mills coming into the competition, but Silavach, another 10. And it may take that kind of high quality to win the all-around gold. She has the lead over Shushanova. We'll be right back.
Back in Seoul, our coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad continues. We've been watching the marathon through most of the morning. Let us give you those official results in case you just joined. As expected, Rosa Mota of Portugal won the women's marathon, winning the gold in the time of 2:25:39. That gives her a 13-second edge over Lisa Martin of Australia at 2:25:52. Katrine Dura of East Germany at 2:26:20. And you see Tatiana Polovinskaya of the Soviet Union coming in at 2:27:04. Now, as that race began, we told you a little bit earlier that Jackie Joyner-Kersee, who is the prohibitive favorite in the women's heptathlon, was getting some of her events underway today, and that she had competed and won in the 100-meter hurdles. We're going to pick up the call of that action, taped a little bit earlier, with the call from Olympic Stadium, Dwight Stones.
Ready now for Heat 3 of the women's heptathlon 100-meter hurdles. In Heat 3, featuring Jackie Joyner-Kersee of the United States in lane 3. In lane 4, Sabine John of East Germany, who has the world record in the 100-meter hurdles at 12.64. And in lane 8, Anki Bämer of East Germany, who should challenge for the silver or bronze medal. All of the heptathlon athletes that are contending for a gold medal are in this heat. And of course, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, the prohibitive favorite to win the gold medal in these 88 Seoul Games. Settling into the blocks in lane 3. It's a good chance for Jackie to run a good time because Sabine John is an excellent hurdler, as is Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Ready for the start. And Joyner-Kersee out poorly in lane 3. Beaujean of France down in lane 7. She was a favorite for one of the medals. Kersee moving very, very well in the middle of the race. She's staying away from Sabine John. She is going to win this heat. Of course, all of the women are running against the scoring table, not against each other, but Joyner-Kersee running a very fine race, unofficial time of 12.69. But in lane 7, Chantal Beaujean of France, an outside contender for the bronze medal over the two East Germans, goes down over the second hurdle and is out of contention. Sabine John in lane 4 gets an excellent start, but Jackie Joyner-Kersee keeps her concentration, catches John at the third hurdle, and around the fifth hurdle, she makes a little bit of a hesitation as she comes off the hurdle, stands up a little bit with her trail leg, but keeps her concentration, continues driving, will not let Sabine John back into this race, and drives very nicely towards the finish. An excellent race for Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Probably lost a few hundredths at the start and over the fifth hurdle. As you can see, she's clearing the hurdles by quite a bit, but Jackie is 5 feet 10.5 inches, and these hurdles are only 30 inches high, so that is very good technique for Joyner-Kersee. An excellent race, a good way to start. Probably got a little of the butterflies out of the stomach in that heat of the 100-meter hurdles. And it's official, 12.69. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, that's an American record in the heptathlon 100 meters, and it's 200ths of a second faster than she ran in Indianapolis at the trials. Sabine John of East Germany in 12.85. Anki Bämer in third. Those are the three you'll be watching throughout the competition now that Chantal Beaujean went back down in the hurdles.
Again, that race of Jackie Joyner-Kersee's taped a little bit earlier today. She's a busy lady inside the stadium. She's got a long jump competition coming up a little bit later. 4 of her 7 events being contested. You can perhaps hear some of the music coming out of the Olympic Stadium right now. The award ceremony for the women's marathon is underway. Let's go back inside to Dwight Stones.
Brian, as you said, Rosa Mota of Portugal enjoying her gold medal ceremony celebration. Let's listen to the Portuguese national anthem. Effort in the marathon. Rosa Mota there with the medalists, Lisa Martin and Katrin Dürr from East Germany, up on the gold medal victory stand, enjoying the celebration. Earlier in the high jump, Jackie Joyner-Kersee was in a little bit of trouble in the high jump, but as you can see, she's 4 points up on her world record performance after the 100-meter hurdle, so she was in a good shape going into the high jump. With her jump at 186, 6 feet 1 inch, she missed her first attempt. It did not look particularly good. This was her second attempt at 6 feet 1 inches. If she were to miss this 3 times, she would be way below her world record pace. At 6'1 1/4, Jackie Joyner-Kersee over very easily on her second attempt. That has to make her feel a little bit better. 6'4 is what she jumped at the trials in Indianapolis, so she has a couple of more heights to clear, but she's well on her record pace. Second attempt, 6'1 1/4. This surface is very fast, and it's a little bit downhill, and a lot of the women have had to make an adjustment because of that. She made the proper adjustment on her second attempt, and she should have some luck going up higher than this. As you can see, tremendous hit height over the bar, but she just grazed it going the other way. So Jackie Joyner-Kersee in good shape here after the high jump. She has the shot put a little bit later. And now, let's go back to gymnastics.
All right, Dwight Stones. First rotation is still in progress, and Phoebe Mills of the United States on the vault. And there you see Elena Shushanova. And after her 9-9, Silovash with a 10. Silovash taking the lead on the uneven bars. Here's Phoebe Mills, her first vault, a 9.80.
Phoebe has looked so good all week long. She really is right on her game. Once again, a very nice Yurchenko full in the laid-out position. She did have a couple of faults. You can see her legs came apart a little bit when she rebounded off the horse, and a hop on the landing.
6 judges throw out high and low, a 9.80 for the 15-year-old Phoebe Mills from a tremendously talented athletic family from the Chicago suburbs. Let's spend a moment in time with Phoebe Mills.
Strength, grace, and devotion. Phoebe Mills has always aspired to be the very best. Her story is one of complete commitment and sacrifice. As a 10-year-old, she moved away from her family's home in Illinois to live in Houston and train under Bella Caroli. But after 3 years, that sacrifice proved to be too much.
You know, after being away from home for so long and not having my own family there, it really got hard, and, you know, I began missing my mom and my dad and all my brothers and sisters.
When she started to go through pre-adolescence, I think there was a real turning point, and she needed her family around, and she needed me around.
So my mom came down, and that helped a lot. It helped me as a person in my gymnastics, too, because she just made me feel more comfortable, and she was always there to push me and, you know, to love me and stuff like that.
Even though Mrs. Mills moved to Texas to live with Phoebe, she did not leave her 5 other children behind. 4 of them are world-class athletes already living and training elsewhere, wherever the best coaches can be found.
My younger sister, Jessie, is 13, and she trains out in California, figure skating.
Nathaniel has made the national team in speed skating. Nathaniel actually hasn't had to leave home like the other ones have had to in order to benefit from training.
And then my other sister, Hillary, she's 16, and they're both speed skaters. And then I have 2 younger adopted brothers, Lucas, who's the older one. He's kind of a quarter everything. He's a quarter Apache Indian and quarter German and black and American. And Whitaker, he's half Russian, half black. Good mix.
The Mills are no strangers to the Houston airport. In fact, they sometimes seem more like a traveling team than a family.
Chris and we met and got married in 3 months. And now we've been married for over 20 years. The way our family has been dispersed all over the country doing different sports in order to reach Olympic potential and that kind of thing was not ever in our wildest dreams.
No, I don't think we're average, but that's okay. That's just the way our family is. All of us get together about twice a year. In a way, I think that this kind of brings us closer together because we're most of the time we're not together, and then when we are together, we treasure the moments.
I really believe the fact is that the kids have gone away and they're succeeding in what they're doing is because they have the foundation of a really loving family.
A lot of times people think it's, weird that everybody's scattered all over the place. I wouldn't choose it to be like this, but it doesn't make me love them any less.
Mighty mature for 15. Phoebe Mills, 9.8 in her first rotation. But the battle at the top is between the Soviet and the Romanian. And Silovash, with her 5th perfect 10 out of a possible 9, now leads Elena Shushanova, who has 4 10s of her own by 0.05 of a point. Right?
All right, Dick, thanks very much. As you can see, I've been joined here in our pagoda by Karch Karai, our star volleyball player. We're going to be talking to Karch when we come back, and we'll be going back to Dick Enberg for board and gymnastics, too. We'll get to all of that as our coverage continues following this brief local news report.
400 meters, now shown on the scoreboard.
back in Seoul. I'm joined in our pagoda at the Seoul Sports Complex by Karch Kiraly, the star of our volleyball team, a team that is 2-0 so far in the tournament here with victories over 3-0. I'm sorry, but I almost didn't count yesterday's, and for a time maybe I shouldn't, right?
That's a good point.
What happened?
Well,
against Argentina, you guys came out flat.
I heard you speaking about the basketball team a couple days ago, and you used a good word to describe it, lethargy. And I think we had a little of that ourselves. Barely pulled out of it just in time. I think the key game was that fourth game where, luckily, we never had any match points against us, and ended up pulling it out. We had numerous chances and actually never earned it. Disappointingly enough, they finally gave it to us with a hit out, and we felt much better during the fifth game.
It was interesting. The guys on the floor were providing one show, and your dad in the stands was providing another show. You weren't conscious of him up there, were you?
No, we're very unconscious of what's going on up there. Everybody, especially my family, plays it very differently. My dad's very enthusiastic. My mom probably has more confidence in us than my dad. Sometimes he'll duck his head under the seats. My wife, she's ready to just leave the gym at times. The tension's so great.
Well, Dr. Kiraly had his flag, and he was waving and going crazy, but you tell me you don't try to pick him out? You don't try to motion to him at all?
I'm still wondering where he got that flag from.
Yeah? You guys have not been, can I say, you haven't been terribly sharp in the tournament so far, have you?
No. We would like to be getting better and feel like slowly but surely we're working towards a peak. We don't want to be playing our very best at the start of the tournament and go downhill from there, you know. I noticed last night Matt Biondi talking about how he would like to have his very best performance, one great performance. In volleyball, we can't really do that early because the gold medal match is in the finals.
Is it tough, being such prohibitive favorites, to not look ahead, to not say, okay, this is the date, we're going to meet the Soviet Union for the gold medal?
No, it's easy not to look ahead, for me personally anyway. I don't know how the other guys feel about it, but I've really been trying to concentrate firstly on Japan, Holland, and Argentina, and now as soon as we beat Argentina, within minutes, we're trying to put that behind us. Even though it's a nice victory to celebrate, we have to forget all about that and respect the French team tomorrow.
Yeah, as I get set to thank you and go to another sport, you having any fun here? Are you getting to see anything else?
Yeah, got to see a little cycling yesterday, and hopefully have some time next week for some more events.
Okay. Kirk, take care of yourself. Good luck.
Thanks.
Let's go on out to gymnastics over at the Olympic Park once again. We're going out there and join Dick Enberg. Dick.
All right, Bryant, and it's heating up here with the second rotation starting. First, let's look at the leaders. Silovash by 0.05 of a point over Shushanova. Boganskaya, let's not forget this very attractive 15-year-old Soviet. She's in third and had a 9, and here she is on the uneven bars.
Now, wait till you see this routine. Watch this opening combination. Giant with a full. She'll do another one. Giant with a full, and watch this. Look at the height on that reverse hex. She has such nice long lines. It really does help her swing mechanics on the uneven bars. Oh, pretty work on a toe-on, toe-off. And there's a dismount, a tuck double. Whoa.
An elegant line. She reminds me a bit of Ludmila Turasheva, who was the great champion for the Soviets.
She really works bars aggressively. We've even seen her do a more difficult exercise in practice. But watch what she does here. Giant with a full right over the top. That is so pretty. It's very, very difficult to do that combination. She's going to do 2 in a row and then immediately set up the reverse hex. And look at the height. Not quite Charles Lake's, but pretty nicely done.
The leaders, meanwhile, have moved to the beam, and I want to get Mary Lou Retton's reaction to that event. That, of course, was her very favorite apparatus.
There was a little sarcasm in that, Dick. I'm going to have to go with Silovash on beam. She's just more technically perfect.
Yeah, you picked them squared away. You thought they'd both get a 10 on the uneven bars, and you were almost right. Just a little hop by Shushanova cost her 1/10 of a point and a 9-9, and with it the lead. There's Shushanova and Silovash. We'll see their performance on the beams when we return. Welcome back. We're live. Second rotation. Phoebe Mills, currently in 9th place on the uneven bars.
She's going to do 2 release moves right at the beginning. There's a reverse hex. Now watch, she's going to do the second one and catch this time with her hands in a cross-change position and a half turn. Shoot over to the low bar. Remember, the judges must see that you work both the high bar and the low bar.
Good.
Full twist. And a tuck double, a little shorter rotation. It's good that she pulled that around because she really had to fight that.
You see the wristbands used by Phoebe Mills, that's part of some Olympic history. They were actually in Los Angeles in 1984, worn by Mary Lou Retton.
Yeah, those were my wristbands. I performed my routine in '84 using those same wristbands. And when I got back to Houston, I took Phoebe into the locker room and I sat her down and I said, Phoebe, I wore these in my Olympics. I want you to wear them in yours. So they're kind of a good luck thing between Phoebe and I.
Phoebe Mills, you saw Bella Caroli, her coach, and heard him during the routine.
There's the reverse hack. Good form. Now watch, she's going to do the same move, but now watch what she does. To make it a little different, she's going to reach back and she's going to grab the bar with her hands in a cross position. See how she reaches over? That's very difficult to re-grasp. And of course what it does is allow her to turn around and shoot over the low bar.
She scores a 9.85. Her coach, Caroli, watching body language through the routine. But for that hop, that would have been a very big score for her, and even at that, some 9.9 to 9.8. And a 9.85 total. And now we go to the balance beam. This is the only event that Elena Shushanova has not won a major international championship, the beam. Silavash's strength is here. We get to the vault, the last rotation. That's Shushanova as the defending world champion. That's the only event that Silavash has never won in a major international competition. At the moment, Shushanova, 0.05 of a point in second place. We saw her in between rotations. She had her eyes closed for a couple of minutes. Bart just really focusing in.
There's no question that visualization is so important to good success in gymnastics, not only in terms of just learning skills, but how to keep your composure and talk yourself through your exercise, because the gymnasts must talk themselves through the routine and encourage themselves every moment. Not look back at what you just did, but continue to focus on what is coming up next. And of course, she's going to need a lot of visualization because her balance beam routine is so incredibly difficult.
Natalia Lishenova, that's Silavash, of course, but Lishenova, the teammate of Shushanova, currently in fourth place, has just preceded her, so we're waiting for Lishenova's score. And Svetlana Boganskaya, a 9.95, as she led off on the uneven bars, and Boganskaya in third place is maintaining a solid spot. 9.875 for Lishenova is the score, and now Shushanova can go on, and she has a routine that, well, we've said it several times, is punishing.
Yeah, it's brutal. She has a trick early in her exercise that is incredible. It's called a back straddle down with a full twist, and we'll get a chance to see it here in just a minute.
She had a nervous warm-up. She fell once.
Look at the strength on this mount. There's a flange. She changed her routine a little bit from what she used in the team optionals. She did a variation in that flange position. She's not doing that here. Layouts. We've seen her win a lot of major international titles, but I don't think there's any title that she wants more than this. She actually looks a little tense to me. No wonder. Look at that move. There's the back straddle down with a full turn. That was the best I've seen her do it in competition. Very nice series of leaps. We watched her practice for the last couple of weeks, and every turn is right on. And even when she makes a little mistake, you can tell she's completely disgusted with herself. Because she knows she's going to need 10s, and certainly she has already opened the door for Silavash. Here's the tuck double. Oh, and she's fighting again, but she did not quite nail that.
There seemed to be a little bobble at the end of her first tumbling run and a little hop at the end. So how do you see it, Mary Lou?
Those definitely are going to cost her. And that's why I picked Silovash over Shushanova on beam.
Look at this move. Watch how brutal that is. She actually catches with her rib cage more than with her hands. No other girl's crazy enough to even try that. Once again, look at this. A back with a full and crunch.
Oh, that hurts. And she'll be just as strong on the floor using some moves that no one else tries.
Here's the tuck double, and she wants these landings so badly. She pulls it around, and she just can't quite hold it.
And 9.925 for Shushanova. And Silovash follows immediately behind. So you couldn't pack the drum anymore with all the girls in the various rotations. Here you have the top two, one against the other through the first three rotations. Shushanova will go first. Silovash will go second until the vault, when Silovash has to go as the very first person in the rotation and Shushanova as the very last. She has a lead of 0.05 of a point.
How about that? That's an original mount, and of course, one of the things the judges need to see is original elements.
She needs a 9.9 to maintain the lead.
Back handspring, layout, layout. Wow. I really think it's a terrific advantage for Silovash to go behind Shushanova, because Shushanova sets her up, and I think the pressure is on Shushanova. And once Silovash sees that Shushanova made little errors here and there, she really pours it on. Oh, and she fought that beautifully. That was a layout. She almost bobbled. That's a full turn, which is, of course, a requirement. It's probably one of the easier skills to do on the beam compared to the acrobatic elements, but in competition, it's very difficult to nail that. Here's the dismount.
Okay. She had a little hop in the end. She's trying to become the second Romanian to ever win the all-around Olympic gold medal. Of course, the first was 12 years ago, Nadia Comaneci. And when Comaneci returned to Romania, there was a picture in the paper and a little girl behind Comaneci, and it was identified as Silovash.
She was a little bit off on that layout, but she stepped back nicely to save the position. Very smart work. Here's the dismount. Back handspring, step down, and then back handspring, feet together to a tuck double. She cranks those legs out so she rotates faster and over-rotates just slightly. Good finish to that routine, though.
Shushanova had a 9.925, and it is a 9.9 for Silovash. She maintains the lead, but Shushanova gets back that 0.25 of a point on the beam. So, interestingly, it's going just the opposite that the experts would feel, and Mary Lou Retton certainly is one of those, as Shushanova picks up points on the beam. 2 rotations to go. We'll be back after these words.
As we come back to Seoul on a Friday morning, we'd like to remind you that our 4.5 hours that we do each and every evening is only part of NBC's continuing coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad. We have a late night show that begins at 12:30 in the morning. We have a morning program at 7 a.m. and afternoon coverage at 4 p.m. Ahmad Rashad joins you for that one. So we've got it pretty well blanketed here. And in fact, we hope you saw the late night program last night when we had a chance to see Janet Evans capture her second gold medal. She did it in the 400-meter freestyle, and she did it in world record time. If you didn't get a chance to see it, let's play it back for you. We get the call from Don Criqui.
And the final 50 meters. And here comes Janet Evans to the wall to make the turn for home, going for her second Olympic gold medal. What guts, Don, what guts! A battle all the way, and it turns out as the coaches thought it would. Evans against Friedrich. Janet Evans, catch her if you can, and in hot pursuit is Heike Friedrich. But now as the race wears on, Janet Evans is putting away the East Germans. They can't stay with her. Janet Evans has put away Anke Moring in lane 5, and fading fast in lane 2 is Heike Friedrich. Evans is going to go wire to wire. Janet Evans has put away the East German threat, and Janet Evans goes to the wall with a world record time. She smashed her world record and wins Olympic gold for the second time here in Seoul.
Young Janet Evans, all 100 pounds of her, certainly one of the darlings of these games already, with 2 gold medals to her credit and a chance to pick up at least 1 more. We'll have some more swimming coming up for you on our late night program. Right now, let's go inside the Olympic Stadium. We've got track and field action underway. We go there now and join Dwight Stones.
Bryant back at Olympic Stadium, and Jackie Joyner-Kersee up in the heptathlon high jump, missing twice at 6'2 1/4. This was her 3rd and final attempt at that height. Struggling a little bit with the conditions here. Very fast run-up, and her 3rd attempt was a failed one, even though she had plenty of height to clear the bar. And by failing in that attempt at 6'2 1/4, puts her 87 points down against her world record set at the Olympic trials in Indianapolis in July. A lot of the women have had adjustment problems with this surface. It's fast, it's a little downhill. They've been backing off a bit and finding themselves too far away from the bar. You can see she had the height in front, but she grazed it on the way down. Get a better view of it from this angle. You'll see her hips way over the bar. Her speed is good here. Her arms are good. She drops them, then realizes she's too far away. Great hip height here over the bar, but she grazes it on the way down. And that's going to cost her 91 points in that event, putting her 87 points down on her world record. You can see here she dropped quite a few points in the high jump, and I think she'll be looking at another event to catch it up.
I think I'll make it up. I don't know where, but somewhere. Disappointed with now. No, still off track.
Joyner-Kersee had some very large goals here.
Go ask.
She wanted to win all of the events, each one of the individual events. And there you can see her asking for her physical therapist. She gets rubbed down between events and sometimes between jumps or between throws. She has a little bit of problems, but she looks good. She'll get psyched up for her other events over the next couple of days. Let's go back to Bryant Gumbel.
Okay, Dwight, thanks very much. I don't know if you could hear what Jackie Joyner-Kersee was saying there. The best we could hear it, she said, I think I'll make it up. I don't know where, but somewhere. Little disappointed, though. She remains easily the favorite in the heptathlon. And we're watching a great duel in women's gymnastics. Let's go back across town. Dick Enberg has more from the Olympic Gymnastics Hall. Dick.
Bryant, it's going to be tight right through the final rotation. They're at the halfway mark, and Danielle Silovac of Romania leads Elena Shushanova by just fractions. You have to go out to the hundredths. It's that close, and both are capable of throwing tens in the next rotation, the floor exercise. There is Silovac. She's from Deva. That's the Romanian team's training site, and as we said, when Nadia was still on the team, they had a photo in the newspaper, and Silovac was in the background. The caption said, the next Komenich, when she was around 8, 9 years old, and here she is with that chance, 2 rotations away. And there's Elena Shushanova, tight lift, tough. She is, as is the case with Silovac on the floor, they're both expected to get 10s. You're going to see some sensational gymnastics. And speaking of a sensation, she burst on the scene in Rotterdam, won the World Championship. Aurelia Dobre, this is her second vault. She's trying to better a 9.70, her second rotation.
And she's using the laid-out Yurchenko that most of the top gymnasts here are using. Very clean and nice. Certainly a year ago when we saw her in Rotterdam before the knee injury, she was a little more powerful and a little more explosive. And I think if she had a couple more months, we would see her back in the race for the gold here. Unfortunately, you can see she has not really gotten all the way back. She has a decent push, decent height, minor form breaks. She's a great, great gymnast. We look forward to seeing her at 100% soon.
A 9.825 for Dobre on the vault. She currently is in 7th place. Phoebe Mills is in 8th place, but it's Silovac, Shushanova, Boginskaya, 1, 2, 3 after the first 2 rotations. So Daniela Silovac and Elena Shushanova, as expected, in a tight battle for the gold medal. Now they'll move to the floor exercise.
Jackie, I'm 0 for 2 going into this. I don't know. I'm a little afraid to pick a winner, but I'm going to go with Shushanova.
You said earlier you thought this is where the championship, the gold medal, would be won.
I think it's going to be determined here because vaulting is pretty much a Shushanova event. She's a world champ on it over and over, but I'm going to take Shushanova on floor.
So knowing that Shushanova has the vault to finish, and that's her strength, but Silovash has scored 10s.
Yes, she has, but she's going to be throwing a difficult first tumbling pass. It's a double-double, and she stumbled in it in the optionals. And if she can hit that, well, we might have a tie. I don't know. It's going to be close.
We're a few minutes away from that third rotation. Silovash and Shushanova getting loose. So while we have this opportunity, let's spend a moment in time with Daniela Silovash.
In 1976, 14-year-old Nadia Comaneci probably had no idea she was starting a revolution in her homeland. Back home in Romania, her perfect tens were inspiring a whole generation of little girls to try their hands at high-flying, gravity-defying acrobatics. Just 6 years old, Daniela Silovash was one of them, watching closely, studying carefully.
În primul rând, eu mi-am ales.
Initially, I chose gymnastics myself after seeing Nadia on television. After that, I talked it over with my parents. They were quite happy about it, and they entirely agreed.
Daniela's dream to grow up to be like Nadia has nearly come to life. She and Nadia are the only Romanians ever to hold the European All-Round Championship. And like Nadia, she holds that title going into her first Olympics. She hopes the similarities continue right on up to the victory stand. The frame is tiny, 77 pounds, and there's that baby face. But for 18-year-old Silovash, gymnastics is no longer a childhood dream. It's a full-time job.
During the first days, I found it quite difficult to say goodbye to my friends and the games we played. But because I choose to do this sport, I had to give up playing games. Now I'm used to training instead of playing.
It seems she was born to be a gymnast, but she was born here in Deva, site of the National Gymnastics School, where she now lives, trains, and studies with her teammates. Though infrequent, fun and games are a part of the gymnast training, a time to release the tension in body and mind, time to become little girls again. Daniela's remarkable self-discipline has made her almost faultless, especially on her favorite event.
As a child, I trained a lot on the balance beam. Even then, I had some talent for it. And I'm not afraid of falling, as happens now and then during training. I know how to fall, and there's no need to be afraid. But sometimes during competitions, I get upset if I fall.
Which is exactly what she did at last year's World Championships in Rotterdam. An uncharacteristic mistake. It steeled her commitment to flawlessness. Some call her the new Nadia. But there's really only one reliable judge of that.
Daniela Silovash, for my opinion, will be the Olympic champion in Seoul.
And the 18-year-old daughter of a truck driver in Deva, Romania, Daniela Silovash, with a narrow lead over Elena Shushanova, warming up, anticipating the next rotation, the floor exercise. Bart Conner, take us through just how the judges look at these routines and make their scores.
Yeah, I really think it's important to break it down to see how they derive at the scores, especially in these optional exercises. 3 points are given for value parts. Those are the A, B, C, and D moves. 2.5 is for combination, and that's for specific requirements on each different piece of equipment. Now, under execution, that's form and technique. It used to be worth 4 points. Now it's worth 4.2 because 0.2 of a point for virtuosity, which is extra special technique or amplitude, is awarded in the execution category. Now, every gymnast just about at these games has a routine that's worth 9.7. The 0.3 of a point for bonus is what everybody's looking for. And of course, in those 0.3, 0.2 is for originality, and 0.1 is for an additional D. So if you have a routine that's stocked with difficult moves and D moves, you can get the perfect 10.
And to show you how perfect Silovash has been, she's been on in 10 events, and this competition has 5 perfect 10s. And here is the scoring. Silovash, Shushanova right there, just a quarter of a point could put her back in the lead. Boginskaya of the Soviet Union. Podorak, surprisingly, is 4th. Little 15-year-old Soviet Lashenova is 5th, and Dujeva of Bulgaria is in 6th place. Phoebe Mills is 8th, and they go to the third rotation. We go to the main track and field stadium.
Dick, here at Olympic Stadium, we're getting ready for the quarterfinal heats of the men's 100 meters. And in the very first heat, we have the world record holder from Canada, Ben Johnson, and the U.S.'s Dennis Mitchell. In between them, Linford Christie of Great Britain, who was fourth in the World Championships last year in Rome. So this will be a very good heat to be watching. But Ben Johnson, the man to beat, the man who looked so very easy in his heat earlier this morning, the man who says that he is ready despite the losses he suffered earlier in the summer, who Carl Lewis and Calvin Smith and Dennis Mitchell, all three Americans beat him earlier. He says he is ready. There's Dennis Mitchell ready to put his hood on, the same type of a costume that Florence Griffith Joyner used last year at the World Championships, minus the arms being covered. All three athletes to watch in this particular heat are Jamaican-born, and we ought to get a very good idea in a very early heat as to how this 100 meters will go. At the same time, we have the women's heptathlon shot put going on in the infield, and of course Jackie Joyner-Kersee, being some points down on her world record from Indianapolis, will be looking to make up some ground in that event. But this is the premier event on the field right here and now. Linford Christie, in his preliminary heat earlier this morning, had the second fastest qualifying time behind Carl Lewis. The wind has been very, very slightly a tailwind through most of the morning session, but nothing overly allowable. So I think these athletes will spend time looking at each other during this race, not necessarily visually looking at each other, but feeling each other out as to what their capabilities are early on. I think none of these athletes really want to have to extend themselves this early on in the heats. They'll run the semifinal and final tomorrow. Of course, all these athletes want to get through unscathed. Ben Johnson suffering a hamstring and groin injury through much of the winter and spring. And this is the first race that he has run in here in the Olympic Games. This is actually the second heat, but this is the first time he has had a chance to run all out or in a competitive situation since he lost to Calvin Smith back in Cologne, West Germany earlier this summer. He looked very easy in the first heat, looked around at about the 70-meter mark and shut the burners down and ran very smoothly. In fact, looked as good as he looked in the preliminary heats in Rome last summer. So we really can't tell until we get a competitive race, which we should see here. Carl Lewis, of course, coming on in the heats a little bit later. We probably will not see Ben Johnson and Carl Lewis together in one heat until the final, should they both make it through to there. Dennis Mitchell, if you can see there, 1-1-1-2 with the hood on, was coached by Bill and Evelyn Lewis back in New Jersey. Of course, they have turned out a couple of good products in their son and daughter, Carl and Carol, who are both here competing at the Olympic Games. Carol Lewis, of course, in the women's long jump. Finally ready to get into their blocks. Again, Dennis Mitchell of the United States in lane 3, Linford Christie of Great Britain in lane 4, and Ben Johnson from Canada, the world record holder, in lane 5. And Dennis Mitchell puts his hands up. Okay. He wants to get up, and they will all uncoil out of their blocks. Maybe something didn't feel quite right there at the starting line. Maybe a little bit of nervous tension that he needed to relieve, or maybe someone shouting a little bit of a word of encouragement or an observation of something not being quite right at the starting line. But at any rate, he asked for permission to get up, so there is no penalty in the way of a false start. You can imagine the tension. Dennis Mitchell having a very long season this year. Here we are at the end of September. Had a tremendous race at the Olympic trials, finishing third to Carl Lewis and Calvin Smith. And he knows that he's in up to his neck here in this very early heat, quarterfinal in the Olympic Games, men's 100 meters. The qualifying procedure here in the quarterfinals is that the first 2 finishers in each heat will automatically qualify, and then the next 4 fastest times out of the 4 heats. So you don't want to cruise in third place. If you aren't first or second, you want to run as close to the first 2 as you can and hope that you're in a fast enough heat to get through to the next round. Ben Johnson in lane 5 from Canada. Watch his rocket start. That is what he is famous for. And you can see Ben Johnson immediately up on both Mitchell and Christie. cruising along in the center of the track, now letting off a little bit. Very dangerous. And Ben Johnson finishing in third place. It is a fast heat, but still, that is a very, very dangerous thing to be doing early on. I don't know if he felt something a little bit sore in his leg, but you do not finish third place in a heat when you have 2 to qualify, and the other qualifying criterion is the next 4 fastest times overall. If the other 3 heats were to go faster than that one, Ben Johnson has the potential of not making it through to the next round. Again, Ben Johnson very fast out of the blocks as usual. Linford Christie left in the blocks. Dennis Mitchell looking very, very good in lane 3. And Ben looking like he has total control in this race at this point. And just seemed to shut it down way too early. Looked a little bit to the left, thought he was okay. And you can see Linford Christie will win this heat. Dennis Mitchell clearly second. And Ben Johnson cruising in third place. We will only have to wait to see what will happen as these heats develop, to see what will happen. We'll be joining track and field later, but back to gymnastics.
So a big story developing there with Ben Johnson, and it did appear that he was pulling up the left leg, favoring the left leg as he crossed the line. Here the women are moving to their next rotation, the third, for their warm-up. We can tell you that Doe Bray, the defending world champion, is now 7th, Mills 8th. Brandy Johnson has moved to 12th place, and Kelly Garrison-Steeves, the other American gymnast in this all-around competition, is in 17th place. We haven't said much about Bogunskaya, the 15-year-old, but she is solidly in third. And I think it's important to point out, with Silovash only 25 1/1000ths of a point ahead of Shushanova, that the first 3 really, Bart Connor, are in a lock position for a medal. Even a major fall to 5/10 deduction, they'd still not fall out of the top 3.
And Bogunskaya is putting a lot of pressure on the leaders. Her first 2 events were 9.95 and 9.95. So if either of Silovash or Shushanova have a major break, it could open the door up for the silver or the gold for Bogunskaya.
The narrowest margin ever, Mary Lou Retton. She won by 0.05 of a point in 84. Well, within the next hour, the 1988 all-around women's champion will be crowned here in Seoul, Korea, and the 4-year reign of Mary Lou Retton will end. Elena Shushanova. She scored a perfect 10 in the optional floor exercise. She is as brilliant as Silovash in this rotation, and she again will lead Silovash. Lishenova, her teammate, has started the competition on floor and has just completed, and we're waiting for that score. Bart, you made an interesting comment earlier that, and coming from you and your love for the sport and the fact that you have a bias, you really think that this is the medal in this sport.
I really think the women's all-around gold medal is the one that really sort of exudes what gymnastics is all about. And the young ladies are so well trained and so fit, and it's going to come down to 25 thousandths of a point, perhaps, that separate the top ones, and that makes it very, very exciting.
We're just going to let you at home judge these 2 outstanding women who will go back-to-back. You score this routine. Shushanova first. Oh, my. Elena Shushanova, Mary Lou Retton. Your
It's a
reaction?
10.
That's a 10.
It's a 10.
There didn't seem to be any bobbles, any minor breaks.
And she was a little tight in her first couple of events, and she really let loose here. Boy, this was excellent. Round off back handspring, full in double back. She can do any trick in the book. She just opted to use that one because look at how easily she stuck the landing.
Zegonisha, the popular Russian song, was the music to which she performed.
Round off back handspring, tuck double back with ease. She's not even breathing hard at the end of that routine.
And now the pressure falls on Silavas. She has just seen an excellent routine, waits for the score, and should that be a 10 for Shushanova, maybe it isn't an advantage to go second. You know you have to be perfect to maintain the lead.
I always liked knowing what I had to get before I went. I don't know how all the other gymnasts are, but I knew if I needed a 10, I'd like to know it.
There it is. A perfect 10 for Shushanova. That happens to be the 99th perfect 10 awarded in the Olympic Games. Of course, the first by Comaneci back in 1976. And look at the Romanian judge, scored it a 9-9. But, of course, the bottom and top score is thrown out in the 4 tenths in between. So Shushanova with a 10. And now the answer from Daniela Silavas.
Once again, let's just watch.
Now, this sellout crowd at Gymnastics Hall, if you're going to judge by their reaction, Silavas has scored a 10+. Her music, an updated bit of Mozart.
What a pleasure to have an opportunity to witness that firsthand. What a treat. Watch this double full punch front as she bounds out of that, comes back across the mat, 2 flip-flops to another double full punch front.
And a perfect 10 for Silavas is the score. And Mary Lou, the dance routine that Silavas threw in, I think that's where the crowd reacted so strongly.
Oh, absolutely. She made the crowd feel a part of the routine, and that's important. When you get the crowd support, it just gives you that extra confidence when you're out there on the floor performing.
So the Romanian judge, obviously, that gave a 9-9 to Shushanova, scores the 10 for Silavas. Perfect 10s all the way across, all 6 judges. And that means now it will come down to the vault, as Silavas has scored another 10. That's 6 10s, perfect 10s for her in this competition. Whoever's best in the vault wins the gold.
This NBC sports presentation of the games of the 24th Olympiad is brought to you by Coca-Cola and your local Coca-Cola bottler. You can't beat the feeling. By your gas company and the gas industry. Gas, America's best energy value. By Kmart. And by Pontiac. We build excitement.
We will, of course, be going back to the gymnastics hall for the final exercise, and that great duel between Silly Voss and Shushanova will be rejoining Dick Enberg in a moment. But first, we want to go back inside the Olympic Stadium, where a few moments ago, Ben Johnson finished third in a 100-meter heat. Here's Charlie Jones.
Well, we're back inside of Olympic Stadium. It's a very exciting ride through the traffic of Seoul and a very exciting marathon this morning. And all of a sudden, we have stumbled across what might become a controversy. I'm not sure with Ben Johnson really realized that it was a 2 and 4. Top 2 finishers of the heat, plus the 4 best other times, will move through to the next round.
We kept looking at the replay, and from the way Ben Johnson looked over and the fact that he didn't try to speed up when he saw he was securely in third place, it's evident he thought third place in a heat was going to advance him. He's just lucky. He dodged a bullet because he was in a very fast heat and ran fast enough to go through.
And the fast heat pulling him through to a time of 10:17. That should be enough to move him through to the next round. We'll have to wait and see. And the results, as you see, with Christie and Mitchell, of course, moving through in Ben Johnson's time of 10:17. And here's Jackie Joyner-Kersee live. Dwight?
This is Jackie Joyner's first opportunity to try and make up the points that she lost by not clearing 6'2 1/4 in the high jump. Again, she knows she's 87 points down on her world record performance from earlier in the summer, and she's going to probably want to get it back immediately. Now, whether that'll affect her positively or negatively in this event is hard to say. We'll just have to wait and see.
How do you think it'll affect her?
Well, I think that she can probably try and put all that energy that she's feeling into this event, which is a good event to do so. Now, it looks like an excellent throw, but as we know from the heptathlon scoring tables, this is not the event where Jackie is going to be able to make up a lot of points. This is not an event where it gives you the opportunity to make up a lot of points unless she has a very big personal record here in the heptathlon, which is certainly possible. Jackie Joyner-Kersee is capable of busting one at any moment, as we saw in Indianapolis earlier this summer.
Now we'll move back over to Carl Lewis. This is the 5th heat. We're in the second round of the men's 100. And again, the top 2 finishers, 4 best other times of all of the heats, Frank Shorter. Those, of course, obviously not finishing first or second because you move through automatically. Carl Lewis will be in lane 3. Pierre Francesco Pavoni is in 4, and Robeson de Silva is in 5, and those are the 3 top runners in this heat.
And Ben Johnson's shown us that you can't sandbag, you can't hold back in these heats. You have to go all out. You have to run very close to 10 seconds for 100 meters, which used to win the Olympics, in order to just get through the early rounds. Nothing can go wrong. And also, Carl Lewis here, I think, if he runs close to 10 seconds flat, will give a pretty good indication to the other runners just what kind of shape he's in.
Dwight, let's get an update on Jackie.
Well, Charlie, in her first throw, she threw 51 feet 10 inches, which is only 8 inches under her heptathlon PR, and 11 points she gets back. So she's now only 76 points down on her world record, and she still has 2 throws left. And she did not give everything she had in that particular throw. As I was saying, the shot put event does not really give her the opportunity to make all 87 points back, but if she can maybe make 35 or 40 points back by getting close to her all-time personal record, then that would give her a big lift going into the 200 meters.
And here is Carl Lewis. Dennis Mitchell and Calvin Smith of the United States have moved through to the semifinals. Semifinals and finals to be held tomorrow. So it is Lewis in 3, Pavoni in 4, and Robeson de Silva in 5. Those are the key men in this race. You may remember Pavoni from Rome. He made the finals, but he was injured, and he finished last in that event. He had to pull up and had a big wrap on his left leg. Carl with a pretty good start, not a great start. Now let's see how he does. Now he shifts a little gears, and he can coast on home. And he will move safely through, along with Robeson de Silva. A 9.99, and he's coasting. So he is ready. And the wind is okay. And that 9.99 is unofficial. He is ready.
Where do you see an athlete run under 10 seconds for 100 meters within himself? Well within himself. Carl Lewis in lane 3, not a very good start. Pavoni was a very good starter on his right, but just the Carl Lewis trademark setting in at 50 meters. He turns it into overdrive. Look how much he reaches out with his legs. He seems to get more reach with his legs, just running right through the line. And again, not a very good start. Carl's in the middle of the screen. Pavoni gets out a little faster, but Carl isn't known for his start. I think all Carl wants to do is be close to anybody in the world with 50 meters to go. He gets into full gear. It just seems he gets a little bit more out of each stride, and he is a well-coached athlete. Look how he uses his arms. He holds his palms out straight, relaxes. Look at his lips. He's just relaxing as he runs through a very easy 9.99.
So the showdown continues if Ben Johnson makes it to the finals. Back after these messages from your local station.
As we bring you back to Seoul, let me assure you, you really haven't missed anything. We're going to be going back to the gymnastics hall in just a moment, where Daniela Silivash of Romania continues to cling to a slight lead over Elena Shushanova, the Soviet Union, heading to the vault, the final exercise in the individual all-around. You know, as we watch Shushanova's excellence, and especially that of Daniela Silivash, we're reminded that our images of Romania are dominated by the grace and beauty of that nation's female gymnasts. They're modern-day Nadias, if you will. But the images of the country itself are in many ways quite different. Here's our Olympic Chronicle.
The trains from Romania arrive each day in the Hungarian border town of Debrecen. The Romanians come packed for the vacations that their passports specify, but many of them never go home. By rail or road or through the woods, evading Romanian border guards, thousands of Romanians are fleeing their country. Every Friday afternoon, new refugees, ethnic Hungarians mostly, end up at the Reformed Church in Debrecen. They have left almost everything behind. This is where they start a new life. Jobs are posted, apartments arranged, money, food, and clothing distributed to get people back on their feet. And they talk about how Romania has gone from the breadbasket of the Balkans to the poorest and most repressive country in Europe. Afraid for family back home and afraid of Romanian agents that watch the church, they're careful whom they talk to. They don't want to be identified.
Nobody can buy food. It's no in the shops. They're empty, completely empty.
It used to be different. Romania was an economic wonder in the communist East Bloc and a political headache for its Soviet allies. When President Nixon visited Romania in 1969, Romanian President Nicolae Ceausescu was seducing the West with his independence from the Moscow line. The West courted the maverick communists with trade deals and massive bank loans to help him build his socialist workers' dream. But the dream went sour, and the socialist workers are paying for the mistakes. Romania's economy ran into trouble, and almost incredibly, Ceausescu decided to accelerate the collapse by paying back $11 billion in loans with money that he didn't have. He said Romania's problems were due to a lack of discipline on the part of the people. Everything that could be sold for hard currency was exported to pay the debt or for Ceausescu's pet projects. Economic austerity became economic terror. At the church in Debrecen, they tell stories of food shortages, gas and electricity on for only 2 hours a day, homes and offices kept at 50 degrees in the winter, and nights lit by a single 40-watt light bulb.
After one point, a man can say, I am totally fed up with the whole situation.
Reverend Bertalan Tamas heads up the refugee program of the Reformed Church. He says that 15 to 20,000 Romanians have sought asylum in Hungary. The Hungarian government, openly critical of Romania and its treatment of ethnic Hungarians in Romania, now welcomes the refugees. The relations between the two communist neighbors are very chilly.
And the paradox, this happened between two socialist countries, to immigrate from a socialist country to another socialist country.
Hungary, for years experimenting with capitalist economic methods, has become a magnet for the Romanians. 70% of the refugees are craftsmen and professionals, a boon to the Hungarian economy, a disaster for Romanians. At a time when Hungary's success has become the model for Mikhail Gorbachev's Soviet Union, Romania's Ceausescu dismissed both Gorbachev and his Hungarian neighbor, determined to continue what he calls scientific communism. Now Romania finds itself isolated from former friends in the West and allies in the East, and leaving many Romanians angry, alienated, and impoverished, and determined to get out. I'm Connie Chung for NBC Olympic Chronicle.
And Romania's Daniela Silivash is in a duel for the gold in the women's all-around. And as we go back to gymnastics, Dick Enberg, I'm looking at Silivash's bio here, and amid the titles and honors, the one thing that jumps out at you, the vital statistics. 4'9", 77 pounds. That's an oh my.
Well, that's about average, too, for the women in this sport, Bryant. If you're over 5 feet tall and over 90 pounds, you're too tall and too heavy. They are tiny, and it's tough to realize how small and petite these young women are, and so much pressure, and so young they are as well. Silivash, 18, and Shushanova, 19, are actually in the older class. In third place, a 15-year-old who has grown 8 inches in the last 2 years, Svetlana Boginskaya. And here she is in her third rotation. She's had 2 terrific rotations coming to the beam.
That's a great mount. It's a front on. And it's a great way of announcing to the judges right from the start that, hey, here I am. Oh, a little bobble on that layout. She is so lovely, though. Her long arms and long legs look so pretty as she moves through a really nice combination of acrobatic elements.
She's 5'2" and 97 pounds.
She looks like a giant compared to the rest of her teammates. Front handspring. Full turn, of course, a requirement. She had a nice save there, stylizing the finish of the full turn. Back handspring, layout right on. She has a very quick and sharp style, different than her floor exercise routine, which was much more fluid. Here's her dismount. Round off, tuck, double back. Good job.
Little bobble at the end, the daughter of a carpenter, and her mother's a nursery school teacher, 15-year-old Boginskaya.
Once again, this is a terrific angle to really get a perspective. As we watch her do her dismount, which is a round off, she lands with both feet on the beam, punches off, pulls the tuck around, and one little step.
And a 9.90, so Boginskaya stays in third behind Silivash and Shushanova. There are the scores. The Canadian judge saw it a 10, from Belgium a 9.8. Well, 4 years ago, exactly at this point in the competition, the fourth rotation, Mary Lou Retton vaulting for a gold medal. And sticking the perfect 10, and just to prove her point, she gave the judges and the audience another 10 right in their face, and the gold medal went with it. A glorious moment for the United States, the first ever U.S. gymnast to win a gold in the all-around, and the vault will decide the 88 title coming up.
In just a moment, we're going to be going over to the gymnastics hall for the conclusion of that great duel between Shushanova and Silivash. But first, let's get inside the Olympic Stadium, where Charlie Jones has a report from track and field. Charlie.
We want to kind of wrap up the action day first. Frank Shorter, your reaction to the women's marathon and Rosa Mota.
Rosa Mota ran just as predicted. We said going into it, she's never had a bad race. She continued to have great races. Right. She's obviously the winner. She pulled away when she wanted to and won comfortably.
Dwight Stones in the stadium. In reality, 2 stories. First, Jackie Joyner-Kersee.
Well, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, disappointing in the high jump, has started out in the shot put pretty well, but as a result of the high jump or the shot put, she has a wrap on her knee now, and it could be a replay of 84 when she had the hamstring that started to flare during the competition. As far as the 100's concerned, Ben Johnson, as you said, Frank, dodging the bullet, was in a fast heat, will get through to the semifinal, but only barely. He's going to have to get smart.
So the three Americans move through, and Ben Johnson moving through also.
Exactly, and it sets up an awfully good semifinal tomorrow.
The semifinal tomorrow, is that where the action is going to be, or is he going to be in the finals as far as the men's 100?
Oh, it's going to be in the semifinal because Ben Johnson is still a mystery. We know Carl's in great shape, but we don't know how Ben's running yet.
Well, we do know that he shaved his head. I don't know if that'll make him faster or not. All right, that's the story here at Track and Field. Let's go to gymnastics.
All right, Charlie, and we're down to one exercise for the gold medal. The rotation is to the vault. Shushanova, Silovash, Mary Lou, this was your event. How do you see it?
Oh, Dick, I'm 0 for 3 now. I'm scared to even pick
Come
one
on.
here.
What do you think?
Well, with the women having 2 vaults, I'm afraid Silovash is going to surprise everyone and stick one of those vaults, but I'm going to have to go with this world champion Shushanova again.
It is an advantage that Silovash gets 2 tries at the 10, but Mary Lou says, of course, whoever wins this one will win the gold. They're separated by only 25 one-thousandths of a point. Now, here is exactly how it sets up. If Daniela Silovash, who is going first, she's ready now, scores a 10, she wins the gold medal. Shushanova cannot win. If she gets a 9.975, it's a tie if Shushanova, who goes last in the rotation, gets a 10. If she gets a 9.95, a 10 for Shushanova wins. So a 10 for Silovash, and she wins the gold.
Here we go. It's going to be a Yurchenko. Give it to her.
She thinks she has it. It's up to the judges. And one of the judges, interestingly, is Nellie Kim. There's Shushanova. She knows very well exactly the situation. It's not a matter of someone having to tell her or that she doesn't want to know, Mary Lou. She knows what it'll take.
Boy, this was nice. There was only perhaps one possible fault. She was really in good position on the board. Her legs split there a little bit. Of course, we have the advantage of super slow-mo. We can see that. The judges, very hard to see that. Her feet scoot just a little bit. I don't know if they're going to give her the 10. Oh!
9.950. Let's see how the scoring went on that. I saw a couple of 10s. So she'll get a second chance. 9.95. And look at the judge from the Soviet Union, a 9.8. And that was Nellie Kim, the former Olympic gold medal champion. There she is. Korean name, half Korean, half Soviet. And now a second chance for a 10.
She's going to have to stick it.
She didn't. A little hop. And so Elena Shushanova, apparently the door is open. Let's wait to see how the judges scored it, but it can't be a 10. She did take a little hop, and she knows it.
Boy, if she could have just held that landing the way Mary Lou did back in '84, she could have had a lock. She's opened the door just a little bit for Shushanova. Boy, what nice position. She actually had a minor form break, but once again, that happened so quickly, it's hard to see. And you can see she's fighting it, and she scoots.
And she gets a 9.90, so she'll take the 9.95. That means that Shushanova wins it with a 10. And Shushanova has about a 10-minute wait. There are 6-7 gymnasts between Silovash and Shushanova. And there she is, waiting for her turn. The scores are consistently 9.9, all 6 judges. But a 9.95 is the score that Silovash will take. And Shushanova, her eyes, she just looking out of the corner of her eyes, and she knows that if she can be perfect, she's the world champion in this event, the vault, she earns the gold medal. It comes down to that type of competition. Oh, my. We'll be back.
Before we broke away, you heard Dick Enberg say that Elena Shushanova's vault for a gold medal will be coming up in just about 10 minutes. Obviously, if you're looking at your clock, you're seeing that we're rushing up on midnight on the East Coast and saying, wait, you're not going to leave us hanging there. Relax. We're not. We're going to extend just a little bit. Your local news will slide, and then following local news, we've got more gymnastics action. Now, as we're waiting for Shushanova, let us tell you that tomorrow when we come on, we're going to have another big day in track and field, headlined by the expected head-to-head matchup between Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson in the 100 meters. Lewis is hoping to again win 4 gold medals and in the process become the first to win the Olympic 100 twice. Johnson is, of course, the world champion and the world record holder. and it does figure to be the event of these Olympics. Also tomorrow, we can tell you that Jackie Joyner-Kersee will complete the heptathlon. She is perhaps the world's greatest female athlete, and she's expected to win gold. As she told us yesterday, anything short of a world record will be a disappointment. We'll also find out if the king of the 400-meter hurdles, Edwin Moses, will be able to continue his reign. The two-time Olympic gold medalist has a semifinal tomorrow. We'll see all of that and more on day 2 of track and field. Now, as we're waiting for Shushunova to go for her last vault, relax, we are going to get to it. Let's go back in the day just a little bit. When we came on the air, the U.S. women were involved in a volleyball match against the team from Brazil. If you didn't catch that one, it was a good one. It went to 5 sets. For a report on how it came out, let's go out to Hanyang University with the report. Here's Bob Trumpy and Chris Marlowe.
It went to 5 games. The U.S. won the final one 15-7. The serve by Liz Masakayan. Match point. Nice kill by Brazil. Karen Kemner digs it. Set by Kessel and Angela Rock with the championship kill. Next for the U.S. women, Peru on the floor with the young lady who had made that championship kill. Chris Marlowe with Angela Rock.
And certainly, Angela Rock, you played such an important role in the United States' victory. You came off the bench in Game 1. What was going through your mind when the United States was not playing well at the outset?
Well, what I thought at first was that they were just a little emotionally flat. And so what I tried to do is go in, fire them up, get some energy out there, because it just looked like they weren't very enthusiastic. So I tried to just be, a little over-hyper and maybe a little excited, even if the play wasn't that good. So I just tried to boost up the momentum.
Both teams seem to play very poorly. Now you go up against Peru. What are the chances for the United States women against Peru? What do you have to do?
I think we need to serve tough and get their hitters out of their offense so they're forced to set high outside sets. And we also need to form good blocks and play, we have to pursue on defense real well, because they're a scrappy team. It's going to be a real tough match for us, but we feel we have, 50-50 chance of winning that match, and we're going to just go for it with all we have.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Angela Rock, the big star. That's it from volleyball.
Okay, and again, we're going to be going back to gymnastics in just a moment following a commercial break. And as we head for it, I want to get in my favorite note of the day. The Associated Press is reporting that Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has sent a telegram to IOC President Juan Antonio Samaran saying that some Olympic sports are, quote, marked by violence and brutality and have no relation with the life of the people or their actual interests. In the telegram, the Libyan leader mentioned boxing, wrestling, and bullfighting. We're going to come back in just a bit and finish up that gymnastics duel right after this. As you can see, we've got much more coverage ahead coming to you on the 7th day of competition. That late night time up there is going to slide just a little bit. We're staying on extra in order to bring you the vault you're about to see. For Elena Shushunova, the years of effort, the endless hours of practice have come down to just 2 vaults. It's for the gold medal. Let's go out to the gymnastics hall over at Olympic Park. Dick Enberg has the call. Dick?
All right, Bryant, and who knows better than Mary Lou Retton? At this moment, we're 3 competitors away from Shushunova's position on the vault. Silavas and Shushunova rewriting the rule book. They're averaging over 9.95 on all their routines. 11 perfect scores in 23 routines, and the 24th and last will be Shushunova's vault exercise. And Silavas can only wonder why couldn't I stick one of those vaults. It would take, again, the mathematics of it all, a 9.975 for Shushunova ties her for the gold, and a perfect 10 wins it. It needs to be a perfect 10 for the gold. Now, you won by 0.05 of a point. There's 25 1/1000ths of a point involved in this difference.
I tell you, Shushunova knows exactly what she needs to do. She's telling herself right now, I've done this vault thousands of times. I'm world champion on this event. I've just got to do it one more time. And she's got 2 chances for that.
As you were anticipating your vault, what were you thinking? And was Caroli a part of all of that? Did he try to settle you down, or did he just make you more excited?
Bella's a motivator, and actually it helps me because I work better under pressure. In my situation, I knew I needed that 10, and the same Shushunova knows she needs that 10. And she's trying to psych herself up, but you've got to be able to control that pumped feeling. You've got to be able to control it, and that's where it comes to the landing. And I think she can do it.
All right, let's bring you up to date on how the U.S. Women have done. Of course, 3 involved in this all-around competition. Here's Phoebe Mills on her best event, in her best event, the balance beam, and she ran into trouble. This is the 3rd rotation.
She normally does a back handspring layout here, and she was crooked. Her heel was off the beam there, as you can see, and she got in lots of trouble. She had to leave the second layout out, and of course made a major error in then grabbing the beam and falling off 0.5 of a point. Phoebe was looking so good. In fact, still does. She'll be in the finals on a couple of pieces of equipment, but it's unfortunate that she pulled herself out of the running there with that mistake on beam.
9.275 for Mills with a major break. She now is in 15th place, and Kelly Garrison Steves, after 3 rotations, in 16th. And here she is. On the uneven bars.
This is a good routine for Kelly. Good start. That's very nice. Reverse hecht. Once again, cast right to a handstand. Cross change front. I think she clipped her heel on that. At least it sounded like she did. But she did not break form or rhythm.
This is her last competition, 21 and married.
Nice job.
And that's her last dismount, where most of the girls in this sport are 15, worrying about their date. She's already a wife and a student and 21, and she'll direct her pursuits elsewhere now. And here's the lovely Boginskaya of the Soviet Union on the floor.
This is a wild routine. Sit back and watch and tell me what you think of it.